Good evening, everybody. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia, all around the world, on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Welcome to Saturday Night Motorsport, and for the second time this week, of course, it's Zach Cabin in the booth with you as we turn our attention away from the RSRA Super Series and the Super 2E Series onto Weekend Warriors Cup car racing tonight to the Charlotte Motor Speedway and one of the signature events of the season at one of the signature circuits of NASCAR, the Charlotte Motor Speedway and the Firecracker 600. JP's here alongside me. We'll steer you through the evening. Mark Johansson joins us first up as well as we turn our attention to the latest round of the series. And I mean, we're 3 months out now, ladies and gentlemen, from the curtain coming down on season 2021. And Mark, this should be an absolute beauty tonight, albeit a long night at the office.
Yeah, it definitely should be, Zach. It's going to be a very long night. It's 600 Ks, 249 laps. So could be some very good action here. And, yeah, we'll see what happens, see how the cake folds.
Indeed, we will, mate. Just for the benefit of a couple of us, including myself, who haven't seen much of the action in recent weeks, bring us up to speed. Who should we be looking out for and why tonight?
Well, the first one I'm going to put up there is my teammate, Scott. He's making his 50th start tonight, as you know. He's always fast around here. And we've got JCW back in the field. So he's another fast guy that we need to look out for. And, of course, Dave Douglas is looks like he's come out to have a play with us tonight. And one other person can't count out is Paul Jackson. He's quick here too.
Indeed, and one thing that is quite astonishing, ladies and gentlemen, is just looking at the times here in practice, and now they'll soon turn their attention to qualifying. 0.7 of a second separates first and 21st, if you don't mind. JP, welcome into you. Big night at the office for us. I mean, 600 kilometres is a long way around, even if it is an oval. The laps will go by pretty quickly, but compared to some of the other races we've seen, this is a marathon.
Yeah, good evening, Zach, and good evening, everybody throughout Australia and around the world. Yeah, we're going to have an absolutely mega night tonight. Big night at the office. These guys have their work cut out for them tonight.
Indeed they do. Let's have a look at the championship points if we can, JP, just to refresh everyone's memory on where we are at this point in time as we launch into the Firecracker 600. What are we up to, boys? Round 24?
Yeah, 24, Zach.
Yeah, for some reason that was the number that came to mind, and I'm just blown away that it was right. 663 points for Darren McKenzie. He was the championship leader when I was here 6 weeks ago, so it's been a while between drinks for me, but he remains consistent at the top of the table. Look at that lead he's got, 105 points over Paul Jackson. Dylan Davies is third on 524 and Stephen Williams on 502, 25 then back to David Durand on 477. A small gap then back to Scott McClintock, who we need to have a chat about in just a moment, on 463. 462 for Josh Carroll Walton, who just before we went on air was the fastest in the practice session, but he's now 7th. He's got 6 guys ahead of him, all duking it out at the moment, but the margin's incredibly tight. Only 0.2 of a second separates first and 7th at the moment. Ruben Phelps, 8, 460 points. Barry Neal, 430, and Adam Ariel on 419 make up the top 10 at this point in time. We'll let that continue rolling here. There's yourself, Mark, in 11th position at the moment. As far as the practice session is concerned here, you're sitting down in 19th position, but it's a marathon, not a sprint tonight, mate, so you can afford to be able to just ease into it. Let's have a chat about Scott McClintock, though, because he notches up a nice, rather symbolic milestone this evening, doesn't he? He gets to raise the bat.
Yeah, it definitely does. It's his 50th start. There's only 3 of us that have made 50 starts in the league so far. You know, and that's been over 2 years. So Scott's done very well to stick with us for the 2 years. So, yeah, very happy with him, and wish him all the best for the night.
Also, at this point in time, I think it's important to note that for that sort of dedication, that's giving up a lot of Saturday nights. Not everyone is in a position to be able to do that. Some of us have social lives. Some of us are busy on a Saturday night. Some of us have work or weekend work that takes us away from the sim rigs. So for Scott to join a couple of others at that milestone of 50 starts, it just goes to show that he's got lucky in the sense that he has had a lot of Saturday nights free over the last 2 years. There's no doubt about that. The race information for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen, plain and simple. It is the 2.414 kilometre or 1.5 mile Charlotte Motor Speedway. Best known, of course, as the host of the Coca-Cola 600 on the Memorial Day weekend there. Just after the Indianapolis 500 wraps up, of course. 249 laps tonight. Now, of course, for the real world 600, it's 600 miles, so it's 400 laps. Tonight, just 249 laps for us and 601 kilometres. 72 kph along pit lane. And the fuel restriction tonight is 70.7 litres. 4 pit stops expected. 1.231 litres a lap, the fuel burn. I'll crunch some numbers for you in just a moment. 5 set tyre limit here, so that'll include the set they start on, and 4 more waiting for them in pit lane. The 31st of July 2021 is the race date. We're starting at 7:35 server time, and of course that is American Eastern Summer Time. So if we were thinking it up with the real world, we'd be starting at 5:35 AM server time to be 7:35 PM Australian Eastern Standard, or it'd be 9:35 AM tomorrow morning. We'd be with you for Sunday morning motorsport. But thankfully, Sim World and Real World don't always have to correlate. 21 is the air temp, 23 on track, 10 kilometre an hour winds heading in a southerly direction at this point. There's the scene. You can see the sun starting to set in the background there. This will turn into a night race before we get to the end. It should be just a little over 2 hours of competition for you tonight, and that's, of course, pending... Well, actually, I'm just having a look at the clock here. 30 seconds is roughly the... So that's 120... 240. Consider then cautions and pit stops. Yeah, it should be about 2.25 hours, 2 hours 20 of racing for us tonight. So a big night at the office for us and a big night for you as well. As I say all the time at this time of the year, 2 screens on the Olympics on 7 and 7, mate. 1 screen on SimShed Broadcasting for the next 3 hours. We're looking forward to taking you through to after 10:30 tonight, and of course with the NRL and the AFL on hold because of the latest Queensland lockdown. No excuse not to have all eyes right here. We'll get you out of here in time to go and watch Formula 1 quali at 11 o'clock, I promise you. This is going to be a great night. It's a great track for racing, but it's different. Every track we go to, Mark, it has its subtle differences. So when you go to somewhere like Daytona or Talladega, you expect pack racing. Here, not so.
You might get some pack racing here, but just making a boo-boo here as I'm doing some laps myself. It really depends on how keen the guys are to get in and do the pack racing. I think tonight you'll find that teammates will team up and really push the trigger from probably about lap 150 with the last 100 laps, and we might see some pack racing there, but I think most of it will be a bit solo driving.
Well, that's true, and that could tend to be a little bit processional in parts, but we hope that doesn't turn out to be the case. We've got 24 on the server at the moment. Stephen Williams, the latest one to join yet to set a time. We're not far off. Whoa, moment here, and into the wall, bang.
I can tell you now, Zach, doing these practice laps, the sun is right in our eyes coming out of turn 4. So it will be very interesting once the sun gets down a bit further.
Indeed. Just some other random little facts here, courtesy of the race notes that were sent through to me, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight. In terms of the real world, most race wins here belongs to Ryan Newman with 5. More little facts like that a little bit later on in the evening. But the track has 24 degrees of banking in the turns and 5 degrees of banking on both the front and the back straight. There's 43 pit stalls here. We're in no danger of breaching that tonight. Pit entry is turn 4. Pit exit is turn 2. And we'll just have a look at some other notables here, of course. Keep an eye out for Scott McClintock because he's running his 50th race tonight. He's running number 50, and he's also got a special livery to celebrate that as well. JP, if you had to put your money on anyone, who would it be at this point in time, mate?
Really tough call tonight, Zach. There are a lot of really good drivers. Josh Mickelmore, definitely one to look out for. Dave Douglas, certainly one to look out for. Scott McClintock, he's just been getting stronger and stronger each round. But I'll tell you what, the danger guy for me is Joshua Carroll-Walden, JCW. He loves these sorts of tracks, these longer races, and yeah, have a look, keep an eye out for him towards the end of the race.
Indeed. Now, remember updates from the Olympics right throughout the evening. For those of you that haven't caught up with the news, Greater Brisbane and the 11 local government areas associated with that are in lockdown at the moment for another, 68 and a half hours. That put pay to today's NRL triple header. So no live NRL. There are also a couple of AFL games caught up in all of that will be played tomorrow. Still waiting for confirmation from the NRL with regards to what they're going to do. However, we'll have updates from the Olympics throughout the course of the evening as well. And I just want to start that with the Boomers, because the Boomers are in action at the moment. They're taking on Germany. It's the end of the third term. The Aussies up by 7 points, 64 to 57 at the moment, but doing it without Aaron Baines, one of their stalwarts. So we'll wait and see how that necessarily hampers or impacts their performance, I should say. Hopefully, they won't notice his absence in a win-loss percentage standpoint, but they will notice his absence. There's no doubt about that. Huge night because we've got the last race of July for the Weekend Warriors in a couple of weeks' time. I'm really looking forward to this. I just got wind of the calendar yesterday, courtesy of Mark, and August 21, Sonoma, California. That's must watch. I'm looking forward to that. There's a couple of other good races along the way here, Mark, and we're starting to get towards championship end and business point of the season. Darren McKenzie, the man to watch at the moment as qualifying gets underway for you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have some times coming in here in just a moment. But can you see anyone stopping McKenzie at this point in time, or is it just the consistency that has him a cut above?
Look, you can't count out Paul and Dylan. They're probably the ones that'll catch him. Sorry about that. I think my crew chief is coming over the top of me. Look, it's still anyone's season, even though he's got that 100 point gap. Because all it's going to take is for him to not complete some of these races. And as I alluded you to before, we now have a 50% race rule. So if you don't make the 50% mark, you don't get points.
Yeah, now that's something we were talking about off air, but be mindful of that, ladies and gentlemen, because now that we're on air, we should probably relay it to you. 50%. So tonight, 50% is 125 laps. They need to complete 125 laps to net any championship points. We'll wait and see if... Copy that. There are some double points races coming up as well, ladies and gentlemen. So be mindful of all of that. And netting championship points is so critical. So hopefully it'll encourage all these guys to stay in the server a little bit longer before they may or may not rage quit throughout the course of the night. 125 laps is the marker they need to hit in order to net some championship points. And to be fair, championship points is the name of the game. There's no point turning up to not bank championship points and leave before, unless of course you're caught up in a legitimate incident and you can't get the car repaired. I mean, 50% is a good number too, because you can still spend a good 30 minutes in the pit lane and get back out there, and as long as you finish 125 laps, you could be last across the finish line, but as long as you finish 125 laps, you get championship points. So it's a good incentive to encourage these guys to stick around and see it through.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, it's just going to give them the incentive to stick it, to see it through to the end, and maybe sort of curb a little bit of that ambitious racing at times.
Indeed. Now, qualifying not far off done here. I just want to run through some. This is a 2-lap sole qualifying session, ladies and gentlemen. So everyone gets the real estate to themselves in the eyes of iRacing. However, you will see different cars out there from time to time. JP's able to chop and change between who we're seeing and who we're not. In the meantime, David Douglas on an absolute flyer here, 30.052. Not good enough to take pole away from Josh Micklemore, 30.05 and 30.06 for Douglas. So 1/100th of a second in it.
Oh,
It's
look
gonna
at
be
that.
like that. Oh, no, and he's thrown it away on lap 2. Wow. That'll be that.
Great
Micklemore
job.
will get pole, and
Great job
Douglas will be second.
to stop that from coming across the track and hitting the other wall.
And he had that lap. He was on song. He was swimming along quite nicely there. And all of a sudden, he loses his second hot lap with that spin. So, unfortunately, it won't be pole position. But Micklemore will have pole as the server resets and the cars start to line up on the grid here. Good luck to Mark Johansson. We'll hopefully catch up and check in with him later as the night rolls on. JP and Zach. It's the JP and Zach show for you on a Saturday night, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to rock and roll with Weekend Warriors Cup car racing, the Firecracker 600 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway in North Carolina, of course, on the east coast of America. And lovely part of the world. Bit strange coming here on July 31. Normally we're used to Memorial Day weekend. But that's the beauty of the Weekend Warriors. They don't have to follow the traditional script to mark these marquee events of the campaign. Testament of that was the Anzac Cup, the 500-kilometre race at Talladega, and of course later in the year the Simshed 500 comes up as well. Bring the curtain down to the season, and that'll be round 35. That'll be October 23, ladies and gentlemen. It will be the grand finale right here on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Don't forget, of course, next Tuesday night, we're off to the Grand Prix at Belle Isle Circuit in Michigan, good old Detroit, and that will be the latest round of the RSRA Super Series, and of course the Super 2E Series to follow on Wednesday night, round 7 of the season. So all of that to look forward to and more right here on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting, and we're all counting down towards December and this year's Bathurst 1000. We're really looking forward to that as well. In the meantime, the cars are lining up and getting ready to take off for their formation lap here, JP, and the nerves will be starting to kick in here, I would imagine.
Yeah, just going over last-minute checks in their sims and getting ready for a big night. And they're about to start pulling away from the grid, so maybe you'd like to take us through the grid, Zach?
Sounds good. Let's do that. Get the coffee brewing, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a long night at the office. Josh Micklemore and Dave Douglas from the front row. Darren McKenzie and Dylan Davies from the second row. Third row is going to be Josh Carroll Walden and Barry Neal. Fourth row, Aidan Schultz and Paul Drady. Fifth row, Paul Jackson and Stephen Williams. Sixth row will be Brett Campbell and Reese Politho. And we've got Dave Douglas in the commentary box, actually, so we'll get a quick comment from him in just a moment. Tristan Koch and also Adam Ariel from the 7th row. Then we go back to Nathan Legg and Will Jesberg from the 8th row, I should say. From the 9th row, Dylan Aguilera Bates and Mark Johansson. 10th row, Terry Marwood and Scott McClintock on start number 50, of course. Jamie Nankervis and Derek Jacobs from row 11. And row 12 is Nigel Patton and Greg Spencer, but Spencer's a non-starter by the look of all of that. Dave, good save in quali, but it cost you your second fast lap. What's the plan of attack tonight, mate?
Thanks, mate, but yeah, just tyres now, so just settle into this race, tyre killer this track, so the man who saves the tyres the best will win this race.
All right, mate, all the very best here. Do you want us to let you out of the room, or are you happy to let yourself out?
You'll have to let me out, sorry, mate.
All right, no worries. I'll put
Cheers,
you back
guys.
in the green room. All the best, mate. Thank you. Here we go. We're getting set. Weekend Warriors Cup car racing. It is Saturday Night Motorsport on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Micklemore and Douglas to bring us to green. 249 laps, 600 kilometres ahead. Round 24 is green. And a nice clean getaway. 2 by 2 on the run towards the first corner. Micklemore and Douglas. McKenzie and Davies in row 2 there as well. What is it about McKenzie? He's always at the pointy end early. He doesn't necessarily grab the W, but he's always netting solid championship points. That's why he's got the lead that he's got thus far. Down to turn 3 for the first time. Still 2 by 2. fast lane. Which one is it? They'll find that out eventually as the night rolls on here, whether it's the top lane or the bottom lane, the inside or the high side, or low side, I should say, as they head through turn 1 for the second time. So 1 in the book and 248 to go. You're going to get dizzy before the end of this night, ladies and gentlemen. Side by side still, Douglas and Micklemore. Douglas with his nose in front at the moment. Mackenzie's there as well. Davies and Carol Walton. Relatively simple start. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 remain exactly where they started. A little bit of chopping and changing further down the order. 3 positions gained for both Will Yasberg and Brett Campbell as Micklemore takes the lead back away from Douglas. And now Douglas responds on the high side. Here comes Mackenzie on the low side, if you don't mind. Down the back straight. Now, Mackenzie's in that unenviable position of not knowing which dance partner to go with here. He's got a choice. He's got to make a choice, and it's difficult to make that choice this early in the race. Does he want to go the high line? Does he want to go the low line? Does he want to ride behind Douglas, or does he want to push Micklemore along? Or does he want these two to come to blows early and find a way through in the mess, in the process? He'd preferably like to lead the thing, I'd assume. However, it's a bit hard to go 3 wide down the back straight here. Now they tuck back into single queue. Single file, down to turn 3. Lap 4 of 2:49, and a clean start from Douglas. So he made up for the mistake in quali, JP, by taking the lead early.
Yeah, he's done a great job there, just really patient, waiting, and then saw the gap, had enough gap on Micklemore, and he just dropped down in front of him. And now these guys, it's all about, well, once again, it's all about being patient, sizing up their opponent, seeing how the track develops in front of them, and buying themselves a ticket to that last important pit stop.
Indeed. There's a well-known figure to us, Aidan Schultz in the number 52. We go back to Darren McKenzie on the number 3 position at the moment. Number 02. Across the line we go. He's looking for second. He's got it on the inside of Micklemore. McKenzie to second. The pursuit for Douglas is on. And in all of that, Douglas has managed to ease clear. He's managed to break away. Half a second the margin, first to second at the moment. And just look at that line of cars, all trying to find their way through and find a clean piece of real estate to play with here. Dylan Davies on the high side. Josh Carroll Walton's in there as well. In that bright, distinct yellow number 35 tonight. That's already my livery of the night. That's it. I'm a yellow person through thick and thin. That's my favourite colour. So Walton wins car of the night as far as I'm concerned. But will he win the race? That's what remains to be seen. Lap 7 of 249. And of course, 37 to 210, and then it's 35 sevens and 4 on top of that with 4 left over, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're working with here. So it doesn't quite add up the way I'd like it to. But by the end of lap 10, we'll be 4% into this race. We've got to get to 50% to constitute a race in the real world. In the sim world, we've got to get to 100% because we don't have a time cut off here. We should get this race inside the 4 hours and 25 minutes that the server has allocated. And if we don't, it's going to be a very bloody long night. But at the same time, we don't have rain to assist us. We were having that chat before we got on air here with Mark Johansson. He said it wouldn't be so bad on nights where, there's a small field or you just, it's a little bit lackluster or mundane. You could just throw the rain down and call it a day. We don't have that luxury yet. iRacing is as advanced and as progressive as they have become. They haven't quite mastered the effects of weather just yet. Through they go. It's Dave Douglas leading the way, and Mark Johansson's with us in the commentary box. Hello, mate.
Hey, mate. How you going? A little bit hair raising back here in this pack. I'm surrounded by that funny blue oval thing. But yeah, it's settling. Looks like it's settling into a nice, easy rhythm. So it could be a good night. Could be a fun night.
Well, this is very true, mate. And in fact, you've started nicely. Will Yesberg's moved up 5 positions. You've moved up 4.
Yeah, just trying to stay out of trouble. Now that the sun's starting to go down on this turn 4, it's starting to get a little bit slippery. So hopefully we can get some rubber down on the low line and the high line and give us 2 racing lines. So but we'll see what happens. Well,
Whoa, we're riding on board with Mark Johansson at the moment, folks. You're getting a bird's eye view of what he's looking at the moment as he heads down the back straight, and we are on lap 11. Next week, of course, Darlington, then Worldwide Technology Raceway, the old Gateway Circuit, then on to Sonoma, then back to Talladega. How good was Talladega earlier in the season? And that'll be round 28, of course. Richmond, Kansas, then back to Charlotte on the Roval, 18th of September. I'm already locked in for that one. Then a break for the AFL Grand Final, then on to Bristol, Nashville, Michigan, then round up the season back at Daytona. So looking forward to all of that. Lap 12 at 2:49. You're watching the number 83 on screen there of Will Jesberg, one of the big movers of the race thus far, up 5 positions. On a night where there won't be too much flexibility in terms of positions gained and positions lost because it's only a 23-car field, Will Jesberg has managed to move his way forward handsomely so far.
And they're all playing a really
McKenzie.
smart race, Zach.
They are, yeah. Absolutely.
No one's really fighting for position at this stage, and nor they should. You know, at 13 laps into a 249 lap race, there's a lot of racing left to go, and these guys want to keep their cars as straight as they possibly can.
Just crunching the numbers here, 57.43 is that fuel number we're looking at tonight in terms of the 70.7 laps on a full green run. You're burning 1.231 a lap. That's 57.43 laps. So on those numbers, you're looking at a splash and dash around lap 228 for the last 21 laps to the checkered flag. Obviously, cautions will come into play here. That may stretch the fuel runs out a little bit, but so far so good. I remember the last couple of races I've been here for the Weekend Warriors, and I haven't done too many throughout the course of the season, but we've had cautions too in very quick succession. Thankfully tonight, we've had a clean start. We've had a safe start. We're about 8 minutes into the affair. Dave Douglas is still under pressure from Josh McKenzie. Here comes Josh Micklemore, Darren McKenzie, and then Josh Walton. I'm getting tripped already, ladies and gentlemen. As we watch Walton there and Barry Neal getting down on his inside. Back we go to the battle between Will Jesberg and Reese Bolitho. Then further back again to where Johansson sits. And the field's sorting themselves out nicely. But that top 6 staying fairly relatively close together. I mean, just look at the margins. 0.28 between Douglas and Micklemore. Jesberg getting down there on the inside. The 10th. So that's Dylan Davies accounted for. Davies back around on the outside. They're going to argue over this, JP.
Yeah, Dylan's not going to give it up that easily, but looks like Jesberg may have it now.
I can tell you, guys, that we're 15 laps in, or 16 laps in, and the front tyres are already starting to go off. So it's going to be a bit fun when we get later in this stage to see who ends up in that big magnet on the turn 4.
It's quite interesting, isn't it, Mark? Because obviously, whilst the tyres are always expected to go off at some point, on a track this cool, remembering it's only 23 degrees, it says a lot about how much load is put on them through those corners.
Oh, definitely, mate. And Charlotte is starting to get on in age, so she'd be starting to get a bit coarse in spots. Like I haven't driven here since their last scan this, and I can tell you there's a lot more bumps in this circuit than I remember from the previous update.
Indeed. Now, I just want to bring your attention to some breaking news out of Tokyo, boys. Ash Barty, after missing out on the women's doubles and the women's singles, her and John Peers have scored bronze in the mixed doubles there. So bronze for Australia, another medal. And it's been a pretty good 8 days so far in Tokyo. Have a look at this. Aidan Schultz down on the inside looking to go by Darren McKenzie for 5th. So McKenzie slips After starting so well and sitting there in second, he slips back to sixth now. Sitting there on the outside of Schultz at the moment, and Carol Walden's broken clear ahead of them. Barry Neal is ahead of Walden at the moment in third position, but you can see how close the top four are. That's Paul Jackson launching up an assault in behind Schultz and McKenzie at the moment, and Schultz has got his nose in front for fifth. So lap 20 of 2:49 becomes lap 21 as the boys cross the line. So, I mean, yeah, we're just on a 12th of the way into the race, ladies and gentlemen. Micklemore, Douglas, Neal, then Carol Walden, Schultz, McKenzie, Jackson, Williams, Jesberg, and Bolitho, all staying relatively tightly packed at this point in time. You notice that one big gap there between Paul Jackson and Stephen Williams. That's the only big gap between first and 12th at the moment. They make their way around once more. So this is a really clean start. Douglas content to sit there at the moment behind Micklemore, who has done a pretty good job from the outset. These two exchange blows in the first 5 laps and have been pretty content to just follow the leader ever since then. Neil and Carol Walden following similar philosophy at this point, knowing that it's not going to be won until that final round of pit stops. That'll be when we get a true indication of who we should be keeping an eye out on in the final stanza of the race. We've seen that in every race I've been in the booth for the Weekend Warriors so far this season. There's always 1 or 2 cars that sneak under the radar for much of the night and then end up doing their thing in that final stint and stealing the thunder out from somebody else. It's good to see. So Micklemore, Douglas, Neal, Carol Walden, and Schultz, the top 5. You're watching Paul Drady down there in 12th position, JP.
Yeah, and it's business as usual for these guys. Now, we've seen this, just going back to Darren McKenzie, he's just starting to have a bit of a look there, or I should say Paul Jackson's having a bit of a look on Darren now. But this has pretty much been Darren's modus operandi for most of the races. He'll sort of start to drop back, and then you kind of ride him off, and then getting to the end of the race, he's there or thereabouts. You know, he's pushing for the win or pushing for one of the minor placings.
Indeed. Round they go. Paul Jackson is sitting there in 6th position at the moment. Darren McKenzie is there alongside him. So McKenzie, I mean, he had such good pace early, but maybe he's suffering, and I'll get Mark to weigh in on this if he is in a position to do so. I don't want to disrupt this race too much, but maybe, just maybe, Mackenzie's suffering a little bit from that tyre wear that Mark's been detailing already, JP, and that might be why we've seen him slip now back to 7th as the leaders continue to skip clear. However, again, I'll bring us back to the point that I made earlier. This race, we're only a 10th of the way through. It's not going to be won until lap 2:49. McKenzie just needs to keep chipping away at it, get to that last pit stop, get to that last caution, be a contender, and then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, look, I think a couple of guys will be starting to hurt on tyres. As we said, this place is fairly harsh on tyres. So it won't be until we take that first pit stop and get that second set of tyres on that things will start to settle down a bit more.
Indeed. Lap 27 of 2:49. Nice point from Mark Johansson there. Good to have him in the booth with us, in-race reporter. He's sitting down there in position 17 at the moment. So, again, that tyre wear issue is starting to affect you, mate. You've slipped a couple of positions since we last checked in.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I made a boo-boo coming out of turn 4 and just brushed the wall. That opened up the gap for a couple of guys to go past. But by the look of it, doesn't look like there's a lot of damage to the car. So we'll just keep battling on and just got to get that, as you keep saying, you've got to get that ticket to that last little bit. So we'll see how we go.
Down the back straight. Lap 28 of 2:49. And you're watching Josh Carroll Walden. They're all over the back of Dave Douglas at the moment. So Micklemore and Neal, Douglas, Walden and Schultz, the top 5. Then a gap back to Jackson, McKenzie and Williams latching onto the back of that now. Then another gap back to Jesberg, Davies, Bolitho and Drady. So 12 cars fighting in 3 different groups at the moment. And up there on the outside, That's Dave Douglas trying to find a way past Barry Neal. Back past Barry Neal. Neal, the big improver so far at the pointy end of town. So Jesberg has gained 7 positions, but Neal has gained 4. He's gone from 6th to 7th. Flying under the radar in the early stages here and now. Mickelmore is within reach, I should say, as we complete lap 29. Barry Neal doing a nice job up front of this field, but that's the guy they've got to catch, Josh Mickelmore. And in the course of the last short while, the last few laps, Mickelmore's just been able to creep a car length and maintain it. Lap traffic, he got a little bit of a tow. He got a little bit of a slipstream help there. Now he's back on his own. Now he's a sitting duck.
Yeah,
as lap traffic clears out of the road, JP.
One thing we've seen with Mickelmore is he is very good at saving his tyres. It's one of his big strengths. So expect him to start marching away from the other guys towards the end of the field. Barry Neal is exceptionally good on the low line on the track. JCW is pretty good, on either the low line or the high line. Dave Douglas is also really good, but I just get the feeling that Dave might have used up his tyres a little early. So he's just dropping back now and maybe taking advantage of the slipstream behind JCW.
JCW doing a nice job holding down 3rd place at the moment. And we're edging ever so close to that first round of pit stops. Of course, lap 57 is where we're looking at the moment. I mean, there's no one at this stage from what we've seen, apart from Terry Marwood, opting to run an alternate strategy or an undercut, if you like. Marwood with that stop on 28. That gets him home on 4 stops, but he needs to stretch it 57 laps for the first 3 stints. And what'll that be? That'll give him 171, and that gets him to 199, which gives him a 50 lap run home. So it's doable from there.
I'll just butt in there, Zach.
Yeah, mate.
I've just had my crew chief whisper in my ear. I've got about 64 laps per tank. With what the way I'm running at the moment is what I'll get out of a tank.
So would that suggest that you've managed to save a little bit so far in this race, mate?
Yeah, just a little bit. Running around with guys, of course, you'll get the draft, so it saves you a little bit. But yeah, just try and stretch that first set of tyres out as long as I can, and the fuel window.
Indeed. We'll keep posted. We'll keep abreast of all of that as we go here. And lap 35 at 2:49. But again, it's interesting, JP, because much like the RSRA Super Series, they've got to be selective here. Because they've only, 4 pit stops, they've got 4 spare sets of tyres sitting in there. And that's fine. We don't have that luxury with the RSRA. We've got more pit stops than we do tyres. But at the same time, if they were to get a caution now, everyone's on a different strategy from this point forward than what they'd otherwise probably like to be. I think the option at the moment is go long until it's time to run short, which is that, as I said, about that final 20-lap window if you need to make that 4th stop. If you can keep saving fuel the way Mark is, 464s gets you 256, so you can do it on 3 stops. But I don't know if everyone's going to be that lucky.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be things playing into the mind of the leaders here. Obviously, they're going to be using a little bit more fuel than Mark. Certainly, the driver in P1 is going to be using the most fuel of anybody else because he's creating the hole in the air. But ideally, they would like to have a long run. I guess in a perfect world, they'd like to have a long run and then a caution period just before they need to come in. But at this stage, everyone's doing an awesome job, and it's sort of looking like they might be running green to their first stop.
Exactly, and it's not often we've seen that so far this season. We haven't seen too many instances where we've got all the way through the first period of the race, caution free. But green flag pit stops often throw the cat amongst the pigeons. We'll wait and see if it's the same on this occasion. Just, I must say too, folks, I'm having a look at a couple of social channels here. I've got some breaking news coming in from the Hunter Valley, which I'll get to very shortly. But seeing friends of mine from across the road from the radio station in town posting a photo of the Ipswich CBD looking like a ghost town, it's a surreal feeling, I have to say. It's usually a vibrant hub of activity on a Saturday night. This evening, dead silent, dead quiet, and it's a ghost town. And a lot of areas in southeast Queensland and Greater Sydney feeling the brunt of that at the moment, no doubt about that. So we'll do our best to keep you entertained while you sit through yet another lockdown. And thankfully, the
Have a look
Olympics
at
will
this,
help
Zach.
saying as well. This is good. This is good. This is Barry Neal finally having a crack at the lead. Barry Neal's got his nose in front. Josh Micklemore, he hasn't been challenged for about 25, maybe 35 laps. Now he's facing an onslaught because there's Carol Walton, there's Dave Douglas as well. And Neal is going to the lead from 6th on the grid. He goes to the lead. For how long though? Micklemore noses back up the outside. Edges back in front. Side by side down the back straight. Now, Douglas and Carol Walton have a choice to make here. Do they go with Micklemore or do they start to tow or push Barry Neal along, I should say? At the moment, it's 1-1. But that's not going to help Douglas. He needs to latch back on and not lose the slipstream here. Back across the line. Lap 42 or 2:49. These guys, there's no fuel saving going on here. They're burning it up at the front of the field because whilst they are trying to look after their tyres, they're also worried about track position at the moment. No one wants to give an inch here. That's what we're really enjoying about this opening stint of the Firecracker 600. Through they go. Neal, Micklemore, side by side. No clear indication yet, JP, as to whether the high line or the low line is going to serve you best.
Yeah, we know that Neal's really strong on the low line, but oh, look how close they get there. Yeah, Neal's really strong on the low line, but the high line seems to give a little bit better drive coming out of the corner. So, yeah, Barry's going to have his work cut out for him.
Here he is down the inside. So there have been lead changes here, but I'm not sure how that's going to equate in terms of the maths at the line, because the lead changes the statistics that we get at the end of each race only count lead changes as in who's leading at the post, not how many times they might chop and change through the lap. So be mindful of that as we go here. Micklemore the leader. Neal up 4 positions to 2nd. Carol Walton up 2 positions to 3rd. Douglas down 2 positions to 4th. Schultz up 2 positions to 5th. Jackson up 3 positions to 6th. Williams up 3 positions to 7th. The big loser in the opening stint, Darren McKenzie, down to 8th spot, the championship leader. He won't be too worried about that, let me tell you. Paul Drady down 1 position to 9th, and Reece Polito up to 10th. Will Jesberg has dropped a couple of positions in recent laps. He's now only gained 4 and sits 12th in behind Dylan Davies. Brett Campbell and Nigel Patton, the next best. Nigel Patton, have a look at that. From the rear of the field, 23rd and last starter to 14th. Solid performance there. No doubt about that.
Absolutely. And look at the top 4 now. Still early days, but they have checked out. They've got just over a 4.3 second lead on 5th place there.
Only 2 cars a lap down at this point as well, JP. Daniel Aguilera Bates and also Terry Marwood, both more than a lap down at this point. And Derek Jacobs will be the next one to go a lap down, but not as yet. Micklemore hasn't yet found a way by him. In fact, he's getting a tow from him as we speak, I'd say, rather than trying to find a way by. Now he goes a lap down. Micklemore the leader. As they head back towards the first corner. Aguilera Bates is a lap and a half down. Marwood is 2.5 laps down at this point. That there in the distance is Adam Ariel and Derek Jacobs. So Jacobs still on the lead lap at this point. My apologies, I called that wrong. But now he gives way. Micklemore goes through and puts him a lap down. Aiden Schultz sitting there in 6th position at the moment. He's got Paul Jackson for company at this point, and Jackson doing a nice job holding on to position number 5. We're on lap 48. We are, by our maths, at least 8-9 laps away from that first pit window. And as Mark Johansson said, he's got a chance to stretch that out because he's been able to save a little bit of fuel along the way here. So anywhere between laps 57 and 64, cars on pit lane, green flag pit stops first time round. Will we go caution free tonight? We wait and see.
Dave Douglas is in.
Douglas in early at the end of 48. Dave Douglas in. I mean, he can still get home on 3 pit stops from there, but he's just making one of those stints a little bit longer. The last stint, that is. As I said, you put 57 into 249, you get 4 and 21 left over. So that would make his last stint now closer to, 30 laps rather than 21 if he was to try and stretch the tank to 57 laps from this point. It could also be strategic because he might be looking for a fresh set of rubber earlier, try and get some sort of an advantage on that. How is the tyre wear, Mark? Are they shot now?
Yeah, my right front is absolutely shot. I've actually touched the wall, so I've got a little bit of damage to the right hand side of the front car. So I'll have to get that repaired when I go in. So yeah, unfortunate. It's I'm down to 86% in the right front. So yeah.
Just having a look down through the order. Some other big movers. Scott McClintock. Nigel Patton's up 12 positions. Scott McClintock up 7. Dave Douglas was in the lane for 15.17 seconds. Has dropped down to 21st position. But that should balance itself out as these pit stops play out. Look at this. I mean, that's the great thing about what we've seen thus far. Even though it's been relatively uneventful, JP, there have been... No one's had a chance to get lonely out there because they've always had their mirrors full of cars or their windscreen full.
Absolutely. They're battle packs up and down the field. So, no one's really had it all their own way tonight at this stage. So this is going to be really interesting from here on in. Dave Douglas is going to start to really ramp it up now. So his last lap was a 30.66 as opposed to Josh Micklemore that did a 32.35. So it comes down to what does Josh do now? Does he stay out or does he cover off Dave Douglas and dive into the pits for fuel and tyres himself?
.54 of 249 next time by the line. The leaders are on their way to the first round of pit stops. We're looking at Darren McKenzie at the moment. Paul Drady in behind him. They've dropped back from Stephen Williams. And Aiden Schultz is further up the road. Paul Jackson has gapped Schultz to the tune of about 1.7 seconds, but they are 5.5 seconds off Josh Carroll-Walton, who is the tail of that three-way battle pack for the lead at the moment now that Dave Douglas has got out of sequence. We are hopeful of checking in with a couple of drivers during the first caution. We won't disturb them during the race unless they want to be disturbed in the instance of Mark Johansson here. 55 of 249. I often wonder why people would sign up for the torture of listening to me for 3.5 hours during a broadcast, but good on you, Mark. I appreciate it as they continue on here. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you're tuning in around Australia on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. And at the end of the night, JP will give an honourable mention to all the people that make it possible for us to do what we do here. And so will Mark as well, because I don't have that sponsors list in front of me. I've got the one for the RSRA Super Series, but not Weekend Warriors. So the boys will be up for the sponsors chat and shout-outs tonight. Don't worry about that. Lap 56 of 249. Micklemore, Neal and Walden. You're watching Dave Douglas in 18th position, trying to fight his way back through. And he's dropped the better part of a lap there. Adam Ariel in the pit lane right now as well. He dropped the better part, in fact, more than a lap there on the leaders. And just goes to show how much time is lost on pit road during green flag pit stops. But as long as everyone has to suffer the same consequence, it balances out. no one's benefited from a caution or a free pass with the safety car just yet. In fact, it's been very clean and very good to watch. And whilst we're getting a little bit dizzy because we're just going round and round and round, racecraft is still king.
I'm lucky, Zach. I don't just have your voice in my ears. I've got my crew chief, my spotter, and my teammates. So it feels like I've got a lot of different people in my head.
All you need now is Spotify in the background and you'd be set. And it'd be pub chat with entertainment. 58 of 249. Interesting to see Micklemore getting a 58th lap out of this. So too Neil. In fact, most drivers in the top 8 have opted to go on, and we've got an off, all right.
Yeah, don't think that'll be a...
It's not a caution.
No, it's because he's off the racing surface, so...
So play on. He's banged the wall and given it 2 nudges, and then ended up on the inside of the circuit. So iRacing has allowed that to go, because remember, iRacing's in control of the cautions here. It's at iRacing's discretion when the yellows are thrown. They haven't thrown one there. And I think there would have been a lot of people looking at that thinking, yes, please, as Bolitho comes into pit lane. Because that would have all allowed most of them a free pass under yellow. Down through pit lane. Now, interesting, my fuel restriction and fuel burn numbers aren't meeting up at the moment because these guys are managing to save a little bit. Maybe with the intention, if they can get 63 laps out of a tank here and do it 3 times, they're only going to have to stop 3 times rather than 4. And in a race where we haven't seen a caution as yet, it could end up coming down to track position and tyre wear. So watch for a couple of different strategies to play out here as the night goes on, potentially. As they head across the start-finish line once more. So 61 of 249 down the inside. Josh Micklemore making light work of lap traffic there. He's gapped Barry Neal to the tune of 1.0 seconds. Neal is the 4th car in shot that you saw there, the orange and black. Then you go back to Josh Carroll-Walton in the yellow car. So at the moment, blue leads orange, leads yellow. That lap traffic starting to play a factor here. Mark Johansson in pit lane at the end of his first stint, at the end of lap 59. And again, 59's better numbers than what we were estimating here as well. So it's good to watch. It's Weekend Warriors Cup car racing into pit lane now. Just waiting for confirmation. I saw a car take off down into pit lane. Jamie Nankervis into pit lane.
Now this is going to be really interesting here, Zach. So if Josh Micklemore comes in, if he's able to get 63 laps out of his tank, he's going to have 15 lap fresher tyres than Dave Douglas. So that early stop of Dave's is going to be completely negated.
100%, unless we get a caution. Unless we get a caution and he can get track position or save his rubber that way. Yeah, you're right. It's going to be all for nothing. So Micklemore continues to lead. This is the end of 63. Now, is there any sign of him coming into pit lane? No, there is not. He's going to go on for a 64th lap. So, bearing all that in mind, 64, 128, 192, and that will leave them with 57 laps for the last stint. So if they can easily get 64 laps to a stint, it's 3 stops. And all of a sudden, we've been talking about the potential for 4 stops, and that may end up being the case because people opt to come in, top up, and grab a fresh set of rubber under a caution if we get one. But at the moment, 64 laps to a stint, make it 65 for Micklemore as Barry Neal dives in. So Neal dives in, Neal jumps, Micklemore goes on. Jackson and Drady are 3rd and 4th at the moment. Jackson goes through for another lap as well. Micklemore continues to lead this race and lead it well.
Now with the gap that he's got on Jackson now, it would probably make sense for him to dive into the pits on this lap. And here we go.
Right here and now.
I can tell you the race radio is lighting up and there's a lot of guys diving for the pits this lap.
So, Barry Neal went in at the end of 64. Micklemore at the end of 65. Patton, Campbell, and Kosh at the end of 64. Nathan Legg in as well, but he's a couple of laps down. Daniel Aguilera Bates rejoins the race. The order's going to get a bit of a shake-up here, and some interesting times there. Mark Johansson, you were in pit lane about 12 seconds longer than anybody else. Any reason why, mate?
Yeah, just trying to get a little bit of that damage fixed on the right front. So that's about it.
And Reece Belitho was in there for 52. Adam Ariel, I should say, was in there for 52 seconds. And Reece Belitho, after that crash, was in for 2 minutes and 1 second. So he's lost a chunk of time, but still gets to 50% of the race, gets full point, gets finishing points. So that's the main thing there, gets championship points. Adam Ariel, not sure what that 52-second stop was for. Might have been a slowdown because he was speeding on pit lane. That's the most logical suggestion to me, JP, given my lack of iRacing experience.
I'd say that's exactly what that situation was.
Yeah, that's probably what it was, Zach. So as you come into pit lane, you've got what they class as the control line. And then on the inside of the wall, you've actually got a yellow cone, and you have to be down the pit lane speed by the time you hit that cone. Otherwise, you will get a drive-through.
Yeah, copy that. Mackenzie, Drady, and Williams all in now. So, yeah, it's starting to balance out. A couple of these guys managing to get significant numbers out of their first stint, but it's Dave Douglas that leads the way. For how long, though? Because he came in on lap 48. He was on his pit box for 15.1 seconds. He's got a 12-second lead over Josh Carroll, Walden, Barry Neal, Josh Micklemore, Paul Jackson, and Aidan Schultz. And all of a sudden, there are a lot of cars, JP, staring down the lucky dog, or lining up for the lucky dog, should we get a caution. And that's an if situation at the moment rather than a definite, because of how clean this race has been to this point.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody's been extremely well behaved up to this point. Now that I've said that, things are probably going to change, but yeah.
That's why we say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you can see here, JCW, Barry Neal both benefited from the undercut on Josh Micklemore. But Dave Douglas, his last lap was a 32.18. Josh Micklemore a 30.96. So now, I guess the tyre is on the other foot. Josh Micklemore is the one that's going to be marching up and catching up to Dave Douglas.
So we keep our eyes peeled. Look at this. Logjam in the middle of the pack. 3 wide down the back straight.
So they're actually lap cars that have pitted later.
Yep.
That are able to just march on by Dave Douglas because of the fresher tyres.
Well, I was going to say 67 laps for at least 4 cars in the field. Derek Jacobs got 67 to his first stint. Paul Drady got 67 to his first stint. Brett Campbell's had an off track, but he'll get back on and we will remain green. He's there on the infield. He'll get back going. We stay green. 67 laps also. Or Stephen Williams for Darren McKenzie and Paul Drady as well. So 67 laps to the stint for those 5. They have done exceptionally well. That was the replay of Brett Campbell going round, coming onto the main straight. So this is again one of those situations where we've had a couple of off tracks that in the real world would trigger a caution. In the sim world, it does not. So a couple of opportunities in which we could have had to bunch the field up. We don't do it just yet. Lap 73 of 249. So, just like that, 83 laps is third distance. That's not going to take long to come round. In fact, just having a look at the statistics here, if we're going on the proviso of 30-second laps, I don't have the race time on me because I don't have the iRacing server open, but on average, if you run to 30 seconds a lap, you're going to get 120 of them in the hour. We know that number will vary because we've had a pit stop in the hour as well. But if they stay green, this is going to be maybe 2.25 hours max. If we get a couple of cautions, it'll start to stretch out. But at the moment, this is a really fast race. And everyone is in a mind of two opposite strategies here. Either they're going to run fast, run hard, and burn the rubber up at the front of the field, or, like a couple of them have done, they're going to save the fuel and try and stretch as much as they can out of it. And that's why you saw some of the guys there opt not to pit until lap 67. Our numbers were suggesting 57 laps, but 67 it was for some of the guys there at the front of the field. Really good stuff.
Now, I'm kind of wondering whether the some of the guys behind Dave Douglas, JCW, Barry Neal, Josh Mickelmore, are starting to conserve a little bit. Their lap times have dropped off fairly quickly. So, as an example, Dave Douglas just did a 32.7 last lap. JCW 31.58. Barry Neal 31.59. Josh Mickelmore 31.2. I mean, they're still going to catch up to Dave Douglas, but if they start to do a little bit of saving on the tyres there, it's going to bode really well for them to the tail end of this stint.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we were talking about the potential fuel burn being 1.231 litres a lap. The guys that have managed to get to 67 have done 1.055 litres of fuel burn a lap. So, I mean, that's 0.18 of a litre, 0.184 of a litre that they've managed to save a lap throughout the course of the day so far. So it might not sound like much, but it's the difference between 57 laps and 67 laps. It's a real significant difference at this point in time. Tyre wear, the only big talking factor at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely going to come down to tyre wear and I guess where they choose their stops from here on in. Obviously, pace car notwithstanding.
Absolutely. I was going to wait until we got to the first caution, but it's taking a while to come around. I just want to send a shout out to some friends of mine down in the Hunter Valley, of course. Matthew Hill, who races in some of our RSRA or NTS races or whatever guys it's under. His sister Maddie. Yes, Matty and Maddie. It's always funny when you're introducing the two and having to explain that. But his sister Madeline, we want to send our very best wishes to her because unfortunately she has, for several years before COVID come around, she has hosted a breast cancer charity fundraiser car show at the Newcastle Kart Racing Club in December of each year. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to go ahead due to COVID last year. Unfortunately, it's not going to go ahead again due to COVID this year. It was due to happen December 12th. She's just messaged me to inform me that it's not going to go ahead this year. It was always such a upbeat and positive, sentimental, beautiful occasion for such a great cause. And, I mean, Maddie Young turns 20 this year. So she's been doing this since she was 15, 16. She's an inspiring young lady. And unfortunately, COVID puts paid to one of the great days on the annual calendar once again. But we know that car show and the community that support it will be back bigger and better in 2022. But we love you, Mads, and we'll hopefully catch up with you when I'm down there over Christmas. Back to this race in the meantime, lap 81 of 2:49. It's Josh Carroll Walton sitting there in second position at the moment. Let's, at this point in time, because it's settled into a little bit of a rhythm here and there's not too much to report, there aren't too many battles per se happening out there at the moment, except for maybe this one between Darren McKenzie in 7th, Stephen Williams in 8th, both bearing down on Aiden Schultz. That's about the only positional battle there is on the circuit at the moment. Let's take this opportunity to crank up the volume. Saturday night NASCAR style. Listen to the Cup cars roar around Charlotte. Hope you enjoyed Crank Up the Volume number 1 of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Given the way this race is playing out, we might get a second chance to do that as we go forward here. Quick good evening to Matt Davis, who, when the suggestion was made that we crank up the volume, he said, how about cranking up the drinks? Good on you, Matt. Matt will be back in the booth on Wednesday night when we bring you the RSRA Super 2 E-Series here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Quick shout-out, too, to Brad Allison, who's sitting in hospital at the moment. He's sitting in there having just gone through a knee recode. Rather you than me, mate. But we hope you're resting up and enjoying your Saturday night, watching all the action. And hopefully you'll be back on deck with us in no time. It's always hard when real-life events like that get in the way of our sim racing fun, Mark Johansson. But at least we will do our best to keep him in good spirits. In the meantime, I'll come back to you, Mark. Here's a move for the lead. So Douglas had an advantage of about 12 seconds last time we checked in. Now he's second on the racetrack because Josh Carroll-Walden blasts down the inside to the lead. Carroll-Walden in the yellow 35 leads in Charlotte.
And he'll probably start to move away from Dave Douglas as well now.
Indeed. And again, that comes back to exactly what you spoke about, JP. The fresher tyres, the fact that he pitted 15 laps later. Barry Neal's all over the back of Douglas now as well. Douglas at this point, JP, is essentially a sitting duck because not only is Neal there, but then another second back is Mickelmore, and then he gets a bit of breathing space before Jackson is 10 seconds further down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Oddly enough, though, Micklemore's last lap wasn't that much faster than Dave Douglas. I guess he had some traffic to contend with. But yeah, right about this point, Dave's tyres are going to be feeling rather second-hand, and Josh is going to, or he should be feeling pretty good about his tyres.
Lap 91 of 2:49. I've just heard some. I've just had some rather sad news come through to the broadcast booth as well, boys. The general manager of the Western Australian Sporting Car Club, Andrew Stachowicz, was tragically killed last night. So our thoughts are very much with the WA motorsport community at this point in time. That's completely unexpected and taken us by surprise here. I didn't know Andrew personally, but I know a lot of people over in Western Australia and a lot of people that have been to Western Australia for motorsport events who probably know Andrew, who will be a little bit stunned and gobsmacked by that news. So, not least the people of the Western Australian Sporting Car Club as well. So our thoughts with those guys tonight as well, if they're tuning in, from all of us here at SimShed Broadcasting. In the meantime, it's lap 93. Josh Carroll-Walden, Barry Neal and Dave Douglas, the top three here. Hope you're enjoying our coverage at the Firecracker 600 on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Saturday night motorsport, round 24 of Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing for 2021. Don't forget, next week, round 25, retro round, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen, from Darlington. And that just takes me back to Days of Thunder, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't mind. The 1990 smash hit.
I've seen some of the liveries coming out for next week, Zach, and I can tell you what, they are some good paints going to be revisited.
Absolutely, and rightly so too. Rightly so. And you think of all the, you see the same thing here in supercars when they do their retro round. It hasn't been on for a couple of years, but it's a hark back to yesteryear, and there's something about the old being new again that the traditionalists and the long-time fans really get around and really support, and everyone gets into the spirit of it. So retro round next week's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Just repeating the news earlier, of course, Ash Barty with bronze in the mixed doubles with John Peers, getting the better of Novak Djokovic and his partner from Serbia in Tokyo. So another bronze for the Aussies. We haven't got too many silvers thus far. We got another one today through Ariane Fitness. but we've got 10 gold. We've got an 11th coming tomorrow. The Aussies are having a ball over there.
Oh no, look at this.
Oh no! Jeez, I tell you what. That was nasty.
That was just
That was Josh Carroll Walton trying to get a slipstream from a back marker, and it really backfired.
Yeah, look, that was basically Adam Ariel, wrong place at the wrong time. He's come up high while JCW and Barry Neal were racing for first and second, and JCW had nowhere to go, so he had to get off the power onto the brakes pretty quickly.
And that has compromised his run marginally. Not too much. It hasn't hampered him too much. He's still there with Barry Neal, but geez, yeah, it's a scare at a point where he didn't really want or need one. And Josh Micklemore sitting there in 4th place at the moment, just struggling to latch onto the back of Dave Douglas and get a toe there at the moment. And Barry Neal, the leader of this race. So Carroll Walton was the first to make the move on Douglas. Neal then accounted for him and then made the move on Carroll Walton as well. So Barry Neal, the leader. 5 positions gained for him so far tonight.
Oh, I've just had a tyre go.
Oh no, Mark Johansson. And into
This should
the
bring
wall.
out a caution.
That will be the caution, surely. Surely that'll be the caution. First one of the night, Johansson limping. The engine's let go, the tyres let go, the smoke's billowing out the back of it. And Johansson is crawling, and there's our first caution of the night. We got to lap 99. This is how it happened. And unfortunately, that could be Johansson's day done, unless he can get some repairs in pit lane and get back out there, because remembering what he said at the start of the broadcast, you still need to get to lap 125 to be classified tonight. 50% race distance to be classified and therefore net championship points. And I'll check in with you shortly, mate, because obviously you'll get a tow job for the moment as the caution comes out, and then you can let us know exactly how much damage there is, how much time it's going to cost you, etc. and so forth as you limp it back to pit road. Oh, wretched luck, but now look at the influx of traffic coming towards pit lane, wanting to find it a way into pit lane and get a top up now and maybe get a fresh set of tyres while they can. And this throws the strategy game that we're all on right out the window. And just quietly, if we can get an aerial shot or something that shows the sunset there, JP, how good does the sunset look in North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen? Have a look at that. The iRacing server delivering the goods on a Saturday night. Oh, well, this changes everything. Barry Neal stays out. Walton, Douglas, Micklemore, Jackson and Schultz all in, so too Williams. Mackenzie follows suit. So Barry Neal, the sitting duck at the moment, he stayed out. Everyone else has drifted left and into pit lane. This is a big move.
Yeah, not sure.
It's a big gamble for Barry Neal, actually, I'd say.
Yeah, this might end up by hurting Barry.
So, just having a look at that too, folks. We started. Do you have on the iRacing server there, JP? Do you have how long we've been racing for? Because I don't have that information coming in front of me. All I've got is the time server, the timing stream, which doesn't give race time. Because we'd be getting ever so closer to an hour of racing in the books now. Copy. 101 of 249. Pit lane, a buzz. Full of cars just a moment ago. So this gives us a little bit of an opportunity to talk about the movers and shakers here. Because Barry Neal has gained 5 positions, still leads the race. But he's 1 pit stop down on everybody else around him. Carroll Walton, now he comes in. Now he comes in, Barry Neal. Carroll Walton, Douglas, then Micklemore. We're 56 minutes into the race there, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. Out of a possible 4 hours and 25. I don't think we're going to need all 4 hours and 25, but thankfully we've got it if we need it. I'd hate to go time certain at 4 hours and 25. That'd make for a very long night at the office. The average speed would be well and truly shot to pieces, wouldn't it? So 56 minutes in the books. So we're a little bit slower by virtue of the fact that the tyre wear's contributed to the times dropping a little bit and and a few other factors here. Worst thing is, I don't think my friends realised I'm working tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and they're trying to call me at the moment, so I won't be taking that call until afterwards. But in the meantime, Josh Carroll, Walden, Dave Douglas, and Josh Micklemore, the top three. Paul Jackson is there in fourth position. We're going to go around one more time. Aidan Schultz, Stephen Williams, and Scott McClintock make up the top 7. Barry Neal in the pit lane now, and he's been in there for 37 seconds. So he comes back out into position number 11. Now that was a big gamble from him to pit one lap later than everybody else. And the fact that we're now an hour into the race, this race is going to stretch out beyond that 2 hours, 15 minutes that I was talking about potentially. This is going to be a very long night at the office. Mark Johansson, let me check in with you. The state of your car, please.
About 15 minutes worth of repairs, mate. So I'll get back out to complete the 50%, but that's my night done.
It certainly is, unfortunately for you. The situation in play here at the moment is that Scott McClintock, sitting in 7th position, has gained 13 positions. 2 pit stops so far for the top 7. Darren McKenzie makes that 3. Sorry, makes that 8 that have completed 2 pit stops, I should say. 3 pit stops for Paul Drady in 9th. 2 for Will Jesberg in 10th. Barry Neal in the pit lane again. And this is another pit stop for him, having lost 5 positions now. The field's going to get into a 2x2 formation here, ready for the restart. Most positions gained so far, Scott McClintock 13. Most positions, Nigel Patton also with 10 positions gained, but he's the first of the field a lap down at this point. Most positions lost goes to Reece Belitho, sitting down there in 20th position. He's lost 8. So this is how it stands. Carroll Walden on the inside, Douglas on the outside, Micklemore and Jackson the second row there, and then Schultz and Williams on the third row as we get set for a 2x2 restart. This will be good fun.
Now this is going to be interesting. JCW is strong on the low line. Dave Douglas is strong on the high line. Josh Micklemore's right behind JCW. So let's see what happens on the restart.
Indeed. Here we go. Restart number 1. 103 laps in the book. 146 to go. Great conversion off the restart from Josh Carroll Walden. Look at Micklemore going straight down the inside of Douglas into second. Douglas up on the high side. And then Jackson slots in. McKenzie and Williams arguing over the same piece of real estate, and Schultz is in there in the thick of it as well, in 5th. To turn 3, the first restart of the night. Elbows out, guns blazing. Here we go.
Now you can see the intensity starting to increase now after that. They're just going to start pushing it from here on in.
Down the back straight we go. Aidan Schultz is in 5th position. We're on board with him at the moment. Running a relatively tight line compared to everybody else. Oh, in fact, Schultz is down on... Yeah, Schultz is going to pit road. Wow. Wow. That was unexpected. Micklemore, the fastest lap of the race, 30.19. Back to the lead on the inside of Carroll Walden. Douglas is there as well. Jackson's dropped back to 4th. McKenzie is 5th now. So McKenzie, after dropping down the order early in the piece, has managed to move his way back up. This is good to see. Williams is 6th. McClintock 7th. Don't rule him out in race number 50. He's just in there behind Williams at the moment. We're 2x2 at the front.
Just look at the action there by Micklemore on the steering wheel. Really nice and smooth.
Aidan's on his way back out of the pits, guys.
Good observation from Mark Johansson. Of course, you're still sitting in pit lane. You'll be there for about another 9 minutes, so that's good news for us because we can rely on you to be a pit lane reporter for us in the meantime. Schultz is going to go a lap down here, and that is disappointing for him. In fact, it's 2 laps down. So is that him out of business, or will he get a lucky dog at some point and be able to get back into the fight? We'll wait and see. It's a 5-car fight at the front. This is really good stuff. Josh Carroll-Walton, the leader. Second is Micklemore, Josh Micklemore. So it's Josh's 1 and 2 at the moment. Paul Jackson, Dave Douglas, Darren McKenzie, Steve Williams. They were all in close pursuit. I'll provide some more updates for you, ladies and gentlemen, from Tokyo as the evening goes on, of course. Men's and women's 100 metres coming up across the next 48 hours. The women's 100 will be run tonight, men's 100 tomorrow night. Looking forward to all of that, of course. Who will take the mantle now that Usain Bolt's no longer running in the 100 metres? That will be interesting to see tomorrow night. In the meantime, 110 of 249 here. You're watching the Firecracker 600 on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, round 24 of the Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series, Saturday Night Motorsport. How good is it? And of course, we'll get you out of here in time, ladies and gentlemen. I know we've still got about an hour and a quarter to go here in terms of the race, but we will get you out of here in time so you can watch Formula One qualifying tonight at 11 o'clock from the Hungaro ring. The duel, the war between Hamilton and Verstappen enters the next chapter. Looking forward to that tomorrow night. In the meantime, Dave Douglas sitting there 4th at the moment and doing a nice job of it. Paul Jackson is 3rd, Josh Micklemore is 2nd, and Josh Carroll-Walton is 1st. You can see just behind them, of course, Darren McKenzie. He's sitting there in 5th. Steve Williams and Paul Drody 6th and 7th, but Steve Williams is the last car in that 7 that you can see there. They're in contention at the moment. One of the cars in there is Aiden Schultz, and he is 2 laps down. In the meantime, we've just gone back in the pack here to have a look at the 83 of Will Jesberg. So he's got Scott McClintock right ahead of him. So that's a positional battle there. Jesberg all over the back of McClintock. Keep an eye on that because that's McClintock in 9th and Jesberg in 10th. Dylan Davies is 11th and Nigel Patton is 12th, but they're both relatively out of contention of that battle. And wow, we just got a real rattle on the camera. How good is it? The realism of the camera shake when the cars smash on by at 200 mile an hour by the curbside camera, and you see that rattle relay through your pictures at home, ladies and gentlemen. It's just like watching the real thing, isn't it? Through they go. Oh, the graphics, the effects, it just continues to blow the mind. Lap 114 of 249, and I say that JP, and you're someone that's very much on the inner sanctum of broadcast production when it comes to iRacing, but so you'll know better than I. But I say that as someone that was during COVID last year, and again, it feels like we've gone back to April today, April 2020, not 2021, I might add. I say this with the greatest respect to iRacing. I say it as someone that has been converted by the sim racing platform. You wouldn't have sold me on this 2 years ago, but now, I mean, you just look at the presentation of it, you look at the dedication that people put into it, it's hard not to appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got to send a shout out to Istvan from Track Cams for Gourmet for these awesome cameras that he provides us. So yeah, it just adds another dimension to the racing and adds to that whole realism that differentiates, I guess, sim racing from arcade racing.
Exactly right. So Josh Micklemore is the leader. Josh Carroll-Walton is 2nd. Then Paul Jackson is 3rd. Dave Douglas is 4th. And Darren McKenzie is 5th. Steve Williams is 6th. Then Barry Neal is 7th. Paul Drady is 8th. Scott McClintock is 9th at the moment. McClintock still most positions gained. 11 of them so far. Nigel Patton still also 11 positions gained. And Will Jesberg up 6 positions. So too Jamie Nankervis and Derek Jacobs. And Paul Jackson up 6 as well. So keep an eye on all of those guys as the night goes on. Aiden Schultz has lost 10 positions with that extra pit stop that he's had to take there. And just on all of that, Mark Johansson's still in pit lane. Terry Marwood out of business after 64 laps, but we still have 22 cars in the server, 22 cars in the race, 21 on track at the moment. So you can tell that it's been relatively clean thus far.
Yeah, they've done an awesome job so far. One caution period. Look, I mean, really bad luck for Mark that he blew a tyre. But once again, that's another aspect of the realism with iRacing. Now you can actually have your tyre let go if you wear your tyre down.
Darren McKenzie in 6th position. Back to Paul Jackson. Micklemore's the leader. Carol Walden 2nd. Jackson just biding his time there in 3rd, and Douglas is 4th. Absolutely. So Micklemore going by JCW into the lead. Let's have a look at it on replay. This is from the previous lap. It was a nice move too, clean. Set it up beautifully and moved through on the inside. Nicely done.
Looked like JCW might just have had a bad run coming out of there.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. About the only foot he's put wrong all night. We'll be right on board with him at the moment. So Micklemore by 0.4 of a second. Carol Walden then to Douglas and Jackson, then to Williams, who has got McKenzie for company. The top 4 and Schultz have broken clear. Schultz trying to get back on, trying to get past these guys to unlap himself the first time, and then hopeful of getting a wave around the second time. There are only 11 cars on the lead lap at the moment. That's the problem for Schultz, though, because when he gets by these guys, he's then got to worry about getting by Jacobs, Nankervis, Legg, Kosh, and Patton before he will go into that lucky dog position. Be able to unlap himself and get back on the lead lap. So it's a long way back from there for Aidan Schultz at this point in time. Lap 122. Only 3 laps off halfway at this point in time.
Yeah, and this is... And look, Aidan's kind of the trouble man at the moment for no other reason than he's got the pace, and he's racing with the leaders. And if you're a leader, it kind of becomes a catch-22. What do? Do you keep this guy behind you, or do you just step aside, let him go, run your race, and get him out of your hair so nothing might happen?
Look at this, Paul Jackson giving Dave Douglas the big hurry up at the moment. Johansson's still sitting in pit lane for about another minute. Is that right, Mark? Not hearing anything from him at this point. To 123 of 249. Yes, mate?
About a minute and a half, mate.
Copy that, so. And it'll end up being nearly a 16-minute stop for you by the time that's done. Down the inside. Schultz unlaps himself on Carol Walden. Now just Micklemore to go. And this is critical. He needs to get by Micklemore to unlap himself the first time. But Carol Walden's not going to make it easy for him. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was Carol Walden and I was trying to go with Micklemore and trying to defend Dave Douglas and Paul Jackson, I wouldn't be too keen on the idea of lap cars racing with me. That being said,
he's going to get squeezed here.
Yeah, you're right. And now so Schultz has got in front of Carol Walden, and Carol Walden's now got Douglas coming up on his inside. They've got Jackson and I think that might also be a lap car back in there as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Schultz has obviously got the pace to go with these guys, but at some point, if this was a circuit race, he'd have blue flags being waved at him left, right and centre at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. But that's the beauty of stock car racing. These guys don't have blue flags. Even though they're a lap down or more, they can race the leaders. And he has the pace. It's just, unfortunately, I guess this is the second time tonight that Carol Walden has found himself on the high line, driving into or driving at a slower car, and he's had to react quickly and get out of the way and take some evasive action.
So Carol Walton sitting there in third at the moment. So Douglas now asserts himself back into second, and this is all very interesting because we mentioned earlier, didn't we, that Douglas was, oh no!
This could bring out a safety
There's
car.
Brett Campbell, there
Here
it
we
is,
go.
caution called. Even though Campbell's been able to get going, the caution has been called. Oh no! I was just about to say, JP, we were in that position. Let's have a look at this again. Off to, oh, geez, as he was coming down onto, oh, no.
He's heading into the pits. He was just too hot.
Yep.
Now, this is I think this has given Aiden a bit of a will give him a bit of a boost. He will allow him to go past Micklemore.
Yeah, that's right. So this is going to be interesting to see who decides to pit now and who opts not to, and who decides to take tyres and who decides not to, because it's lap 128. So we've got 120 to go. So it's this and one more stop from here, you would think. And everyone except for Carol Walton is pitted.
Yeah. Once again, you look at this on the surface, it just looks like that was a mistake by Carol Walton, but he's been racing cup cars, stock car, long enough to know what he's doing.
Now, the other thing I wanted to point out too. Isn't it amazing how it swings in roundabouts? Because Dave Douglas, we ruled him out a short while ago. When it looked like we were going to run green all night, we ruled him out because he was on the alternate strategy to everybody else. And he ended up, falling well outside contention because he ran hard, ran fast, ran early, but then just got swamped as his tyres went off. Then all of a sudden that caution on lap 99 brings him back into the contest because everyone stops on lap 100. Now here, well, similar situation. Everyone pits on lap 128 with the exception of Josh Carol Walton. So now Carol Walton's the sitting duck and out of sequence. So it's interesting the mindset, the strategy, the games at hand here at this point in time. Mark Johansson back out on the racetrack, back in the race. Adam Ariel in 21st position is still going along strong. Looks like we've got 22 cars on track for the restart here, which is good to see. As Josh Carol Walton now comes to pit lane, and the safety car continues on. So Carol Walton, Kosh, Legnan, and Curvis all in. Schultz stays out. Jacobs, Aguilera, and Campbell all go in.
And this
as does Ariel.
This is the beauty of stock car racing for the uninitiated. I mean, you look at this and you go, look, they're just going around an oval track, but there's a lot of tactics that goes into it, especially with caution periods and the likes. And you said it perfectly before. I mean, we pretty much all but wrote off Dave Douglas, but we also knew that if there were cautions that were going to come out, that it would probably play into his hands also.
Talking about strategy, guys, just so you know, like I'm rolling around at the moment with my foot on the clutch, trying to save fuel. Other guys will turn their cars off to save fuel. There is a lot of strategy involved in it.
So you're on board at the moment with Micklemore under the caution. The lights look as though they're out on the safety car up ahead. Am I right in saying that? And we're hearing that the two cars in front of Micklemore will have to be let through. So the safety car will go around one more time. One of those cars alleviates himself, though, because he goes into pit lane. So the car in front of Micklemore, he will have to be let through. And then all of a sudden, we've got a game on our hands here, ladies and gentlemen. Aidan Schultz pitted on lap 105 and sits down in 16th at the moment, still 2 laps down. He hasn't got his lap back yet, but I think that's him being released right now. So he'll be able to progress through. Lights are out on the safety car, and this is Schultz's chance to get back round and be one lap down for the restart. And then it's a case of getting another caution to get back onto the lead lap for Schultz. So it's a big night at the office for him. It's an uphill task from here. Still hard to know who to favour here at the moment. We've just gone past halfway. Lap 131 at 2:49, 118 to go next time by the strike. And Dave Douglas is sitting second. Those two shared the front row from the outset. So we're essentially, as far as the front two are concerned, we're back where we started just over an hour ago.
Funny how things come back in fashion, I guess, or come back around.
Exactly right.
And they're kind of where they want to be as well. Dave's very good on the high line. Josh is good on the low line.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. We've been noticing that throughout the course of the night. Is there one line that works better than the other? And the answer is no, because both these guys have managed to make either the top or the bottom work. There's no clear-cut favourite or preferred position to be at this point in time. Both are rewarding you. Back to green. The second restart of the night. We've had two cautions now. So we're easing into a rhythm again.
Josh gets a blinder.
And that was a great restart. Absolutely. Absolute bolter. Spread eagle the field. Jackson, Douglas, and Williams tuck in behind. Have a look at it. It's a log jam. So Schultz is still up down, but he's on the tail end of that queue. Needs to work his way through the queue again to unlap himself once more. We'll wait and see. Too wide across the start strike. On the run through.
Someone behind me has just gone to the infield.
Oh, off track as well. So Reese Bolitho for the second time tonight. Off the circuit, Brett Campbell as well, we're hearing. Bit of smoke being kicked up there, but no caution at this point. Lights are green still. Here come the lead pack, the leading tribe once more. Micklemore with half a second on the field. 134 of 249. You're watching it on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing. How good is this? With thanks to Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine, of course. You can see their little logo in the top left corner there at the top of the totem pole, folks. Big thanks to them for their input into making Cup Car Racing happen on a Saturday night here. Back to the main straight. Look at Darren McKenzie! Side by side with Jackson. That's the battle for third. Barry Neal and Stephen Williams side by side. Then Josh Carroll Walden and Barry Neal as well. And Paul Drady sitting there in 8th position. But at the front, Micklemore is clear. Douglas is there. And Douglas is under pressure now from Jackson and friends. Talk about pressure. High stakes. No margin for error here, JP. These guys have got to be at the top of their game from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see Paul Jackson and Darren McKenzie, they're starting to work together a little bit here, and they're making grounds on Dave Douglas.
Through they go. And how good does the Charlotte Motor Speedway look under lights now, ladies and gentlemen? Sunset has been gone, come and went. We are in the dark. Have a look at that. Lights ablaze. Or trackside at least. The cars aren't lit up. That's stock car racing for you. The lights are painted on. 137 to 249. Darren McKenzie sitting there in 4th position at the moment. Dave Douglas is second to Micklemore. Look at that. Look at how close it is first to second. Look at how close it is third to 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4 all in shot. 5th as well. That's Stephen Williams. Just throwing his hat into the ring. Throwing the cat amongst the pigeons. This is good stuff. We've had 2 cautions thus far. We are 112 laps from home. And we're heading down the back straight again. And Micklemore and Douglas and Jackson and McKenzie and then Williams, Neal, Carroll Walden and Drady, the top 8. Then Dylan Davies. Nigel Patton has now got himself back onto the lead lap, as has Scott McClintock, as has Will Jesberg. So they're all on the lead lap. We're now back to 12 cars on the lead lap. Legg, Kosh, Schultz, and Curvis a lap down. And then 3 laps down is where you'll find Daniel Aguilera Bates. 4 laps down is Brett Campbell. 5 laps down, Reese Polito. And then Adam Ariel, 6 laps down. And Derek Jacobs, 11 laps down. And Mark Johansson, 30 laps down. But the good news is that we've got 21 cars past that 50% marker that they had to hit tonight to score championship points. And Johansson should get there as well. So that'll be 22 out of the 23, which is not too bad. Look at this. Douglas under pressure from Jackson. Jackson down on the inside. Jackson to second. And then he takes McKenzie with him. In fact, look at that. Douglas has just become a sitting duck in all of that. Hung out to dry. Back to 4th. Williams wants to muscle his way into this as well. He can't get a toe from McKenzie, though. Then Barry Neal looking for a way back towards the front. Now it's a case of the low line working better than the high line.
Yeah, I was just about to say... You had Jackson and McKenzie there working together and said, just went, I'll take that, thank you very much. And as soon as Jackson was cleared, he just dropped down onto that low line and said, yeah, that's mine, I'll take that.
Exactly. He doesn't wait for a second invitation. He takes it on the first. There's no doubt about that.
I'll tell you what, Zach, the one person there in that front back to watch is Steve Williams. He'd have to be the dark horse there.
Keep an eye on him. But yeah, he flew under the radar in one of the early races I did earlier in the season as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him doing it again. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Memorial Cup, mate.
That's right.
Yeah, a great finish from him in that race.
We will wait and see if he can pull it off again. Now,
great battle pack here.
Yeah, awesome battle pack. It is the top 9. Dylan Davies has latched onto the back of that now as well. So you got Davies, Grady, Neal, Harold Walden. They're side by side. The orange and the yellow, very close to a touch. That was a little bit too close for comfort, I would have thought, for those guys. Neal latching onto the back of Williams. Neal gets by. Neal back to 6th. Williams the next target. McKenzie, Dave Douglas is 3rd. And then Paul Jackson and Josh Mickelmore. Mickelmore the leader with 2 car lengths to his advantage, but that's nothing in a pack this big. And whilst I said that they were settling into a rhythm, there's no time to settle now. They've got to get on with the job. 105 to go. Gone for young and old.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they are getting on with the job. They're all in the mid-31s here.
And doing so very nicely. I mean, qualifying pace and the early stages of the race was high 29s, low 30s. Now that they're starting to wear these tyres out, they're 17 laps into the stint. You're noticing the pace go out, but, I mean, last time around, there would have been 0.2 of a second separating the lap times of 1st through 9th, which is just extraordinary this late into the race, or this far into the race, I should say. We're not even into the late stages yet. We are past halfway. We're not quite at 60%. No. Better part of 100 to go. Thanks to Trev Mickelmore, who is tuning in tonight. Appreciate that, and appreciate the comments with regards to the coverage as well. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we're live on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting and Real Sim Racing Australia. So JP's getting the comments via one of his channels, and we're live on YouTube as well. And that comment's gone through to his end, not mine. So I'm obviously on the wrong feed for getting the comments at the moment, but that's okay. Appreciate your feedback, appreciate your viewership as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're tuning in. We are lap 148 now as they cross the line. Awesome stuff. Now, lap 148 of 249. through they go. So it's just settled down a little bit. It was getting pretty intense there for a short while. It's just started to settle down a little bit, which is good to see. Although, don't speak too soon because these guys are too tightly bunched to settle down for too long. Have they adopted a mentality of follow the leader? Or are they just settling into a rhythm because they've got to be mindful of tyre life and fuel life as well? Although, that being said, a lot of these guys got 60-odd laps out of their first round of stops, their first stint. So 128 and 121 to go. That's 2 stops. If they can all get 60 out of their final 2 stints, that's 2 stops. They're home. And bearing in mind that if we get a caution, they'll save a little bit of fuel, so they'll be fine. So I can't see that being an issue at this point in time. It might just be the tyre wear factor, which has dominated the discussion so far tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting if they've taken tyres for their last 3 stops. They're going to have to double stint somewhere.
Absolutely. They've only got 1 more set of tyres available to them if they've picked up a set in all 3 stops thus far. Barry Neal's had 4 stops, so you'd only hope that one of those didn't include taking on tyres, or otherwise he's on that set till the end.
Which is going to be a little bit worrisome if Mark blew a tyre and Barry Neal's going to have to be on his set till the end. Yeah, he's going to be a little worried, I think.
He would be, if that is indeed the case. We'll find out a little bit more later on, I'm sure. In terms of if Barry joins us in the booth after the race, we'll find out if his tyre strategy was different to those around him, or whether one of those stops was just for fuel or whatever the case may be. Whoa, look at that! Slicing and dicing through Paul Jackson, right in the middle there. I think it was. Or was it Mackenzie? I'm not 100% sure. Let's have a look. Oh, Adam Ariel off the track again. So you got Barry Neal, you got Dave Douglas, it was, my apologies, then Paul Jackson. So Douglas is the meat and the sandwich there. Then you go back to Williams in the black car. Then it's Mackenzie. Then Carol Walden's dropped off that. So it's a race in 5 at the front now. And still, I'm keeping an eye on those that are a lap down or so, and what they're going to do to try and change that around. Aiden Schultz will be getting perilously close to his fuel window as well, folks, because he last stopped on lap 105. If he can't get a caution here, it's going to have to be a green flag pit stop as Ariel comes in, and that will pretty much ruin his chances tonight of getting back onto the lead lap, I would say. So we are in the midst of a very long green flag run.
Have a look at this.
Oh, not as long as the first stint, though, but it's a good long run, and it's enough to entice a little bit of a battle at the front of the field. And here comes Barry Neal down the inside. Barry Neal charges back to the lead for the 2nd time tonight. Now, Micklemore forces the issue on the high line. They're going to drag it down the back straight. Side by side. Does anyone want to go 3 wide and make a real race of it? No, not yet. Douglas tucks back in. Jackson as well. And Neal follows Micklemore through.
That was intense. They were heading towards lap traffic there, and I thought Barry was going to try and hold Micklemore high and force him to slow down, but Neal was maybe a little too nice and gave Josh a little bit more room than he needed to.
I'll tell you what, JP, that was a lot closer than what it looked on the camera. So that was me that they come fast.
I love it. How good's this? 156 to 249. Mark Johansson back out there on the racetrack, and now you've got that 125 in the book now, mate. So it's just merely about getting to the finish line, and if you can pick up a couple of points because one of the cars around you drops out of business, then so be it, hey?
Look, mate, I'll stay here for a couple of more laps, and then I might park it because that pace at the front is pretty fierce.
Indeed it is. You're not wrong about that. JP?
Just got some inside information here from Trev Micklemore. Thanks very much for sending that through, mate. During the pit stop, Josh says that the tyres aren't an issue, but as long as you're not fighting. But now that they are fighting, might be a different story.
And that's well worth noting going into the back half of this race. We're inside 100 to go. There'll be 91 to go next time by the line. There's the totem pole on the left side of your screen. Top 12 still on the lead lap here. Top 4, mighty tight. Mighty tight. And Williams not too far off them either. It is a second that separates the top 4 here. It's a second and a half that separates the top 5. There is Williams. In behind him is Darren McKenzie, but it's a fairly significant gap back. And he's got Dylan Davies for company now, and Davies has gone to 6th. McKenzie, Carol Walden, and Drady all there for company at the moment. Look at how tight that battle pack is for 6th. Now McKenzie wants to come back down on the inside. Here comes Carol Walden instead. Carol Walden going back down the inside, going into 7th on the inside of McKenzie, and Drady looking for a way through, but he's got nowhere to go. And McKenzie and Carol Walden are going to force the issue coming off 4. They separate, which is good to see, because at the entry to turn 4, at least the exit to turn 4, it was looking like they were a little bit close for comfort there, and they might have ended up banging panels. And we know how tragically that can end on oval courses. Don't worry about that, especially the high-speed ones. Lap 150. 60% of, sorry, lap 160, I should say. I had a misread of the lap chart, but we're more than 60% of the way through the race now, folks. We've got, what is that, 89 laps to go, and the race leaders, this is just awesome to see that they have stayed this close together all night long. I can't tell you, folks, I was not expecting this. I was not expecting this.
Yeah, some absolutely phenomenal racing going on tonight.
Yeah, if I was to be perfectly honest with you folks, I was expecting a little bit of lackluster mundane action in this second stint here, but these guys have delivered in a big, big way. They have kept it tight. They have kept it bunched up. They have kept up the entertainment factor right the way through. Let's just hope it stays that way. And I can't see any reason why it wouldn't stay that way for the remaining 80-odd laps here as they come back to the line to start lap 163. Critical now, because now they're racing to a number, JP. They're racing literally to lap 189, 190, that last pit stop. When they'll come in, they'll take those fresh tyres, and then they'll be left to duke it out, and if you get left behind, so be it.
Yeah, 100%. So right about now, it's just they're just jockeying themselves into position, you know. Josh Micklemore's done an awesome job of controlling the race so far. He's come under attack a few times, has been able to fend them off. Yeah, so right now it's about that last pit stop, and once that last pit stop is over and done with, yeah, they'll be holding nothing back.
The 164 of 249. Hope you're enjoying commercial-free coverage. Another advantage of sim racing compared to the real world, especially when it comes to the Yanks. Commercial-free coverage. Firecracker 600. Round 24. Weekend Warriors Cup car racing on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Don't forget, we'll stay with you right through until well after the checkered flag with the post-race show. We'll wrap it up. We'll have a look ahead to next week. Of course, Darlington and Retro Round. The old Days of Thunder. Will anyone be game enough to run it round the outside? Who knows? And that's coming up next Saturday night from 7:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Only if you've got 4 balanced tyres there, mate.
Oh, well, that's, yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, absolutely. Commercial-free. We've got commercial-free coverage, but I will sell out if Coca-Cola come knocking.
Well, yeah, 100%. I'm with you. As long as they send a, well, actually, speaking of the sponsor's product, I've just cracked a Sprite here in the commentary box. So, if they want to send a carton of that our way, I won't complain either. Josh Micklemore, Barry Neal, Paul Jackson, and Dave Douglas, the top 4 at the moment. And sitting there in 5th position is Stephen Williams, Dylan Davies, Josh Carroll Walden, Darren McKenzie, Paul Drady, Nigel Patton, the top 10 at the moment. Great run from Patton, up 13 positions tonight. Biggest mover in the field. As I said, there wouldn't be too many standouts in the movers and shakers department because of the field being as small as this, 23, but 13 is a clear standout performance from Patton, 9 for McClintock, 4 for Neil, 6 for Jackson, and 5 for Williams. Reese Bolitho in pit lane, so too Scott McClintock.
So now we're
Reese
seeing...
Bolitho, of course, I should point out, JP, still in pit lane after 10 minutes and 50 seconds because of a second crash for him. He's had a night of wars and wounds. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, certainly one maybe to forget for Reese, but he's still done 139 laps, so that'll qualify him for points.
Indeed, it will.
The longer he stays in pits, the better it is for me. I'll make a spot then.
Well, that's exactly right, mate. Stay out there. You'll be in 20th before no time. You've only got to get another couple of laps out of it, and you'll be right into the top 20. You beauty. Oh, dear. It could be a Bradbury-esque performance. You've just got to get another 19 to fall over between now and 249. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I don't think that's going to happen. We haven't seen anything tonight to suggest that a big one is brewing. Mickelmore and Neil and Jackson, the top 3 at the moment. And it's been consistent for much of the night. The 5, 6, 7, 8 that are there in the top 8 at the moment have been there all night. The exception being Dylan Davies. He's really moved forward since we've had those 2 safety car periods.
I think our next real big field will be round 1 of the Triple Crown, mate. I'm sorry, I left you out of that loop. We've got the Triple Crown coming up, and that's worth double points. So that'll be a big one, I'd say.
And which round is round 1 of the Triple Crown, mate?
The round that my favourite track, Talladega. I think that's round 33.
Yes. Copy that. Now let me just open up the calendar that you sent through earlier and double confirm. So Talladega is 28.
28, then that's round 1. Then Nashville's round 2, and then the Daytona 500.
So that'll be Talladega round 28, Nashville round 33, and Daytona round 35. Double points up for grabs. So the first one, 28th to the 8th. Don't know who will be in the booth that night. It won't be me. I'm at Morgan Park in Warwick that weekend. Nashville, I'll be here, and Daytona, I'll be here for a good chunk of it. It won't be the whole broadcast at this stage, but we're going to do our level best to make real world and sim world happen simultaneously on that day. In the meantime, Josh Mickelmore, first position at the moment, doing a good job and just holding station. The shots have been fired. The field, the order has ebbed and flowed. Now it's about seeing who has the pace to go all the way to the checkered flag. Now, I'm just having a look and seeing who are they coming up on the back of here, JP?
It looks like they're coming up on the back of Aiden Schultz.
Yeah, so they're just going to put it, Aiden Schultz. Schultz is coming in, that's why. Aiden Schultz is coming into pit lane by the look of that.
Now, it's interesting to note as well, up until now, Barry Neal was just making headway on Josh Mickelmore. He got to within about 1/10 of a second behind Josh, but got into some traffic there and he's dropped down a little bit.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Carol Walden has dropped back considerably, and so has Dylan Davies. So, I mean, first and second still very tight. They've got the lap traffic of Will Jesberg for company there. Then you go back 2 seconds to Jackson, who's got Douglas and Williams for company. Then it's a long gap back to Davies, about 3.8. Then 2.6 back to Walden, who's got McKenzie and Drady all over him at this point.
Now, Jesberg was in for his pit stop on lap 157. So, assuming he's got fresh tyres, you can see he's ranging all over the back of Neil there, and he's just trying to find a way around him. And once again, Neil has come right up onto the back of Mickelmore.
Now, Barry Neal, he's been really good in these tyre-saving situations, hasn't he? Throughout the course of the season, from what I've seen. No reason why it won't continue to be like that tonight.
last lap, Neil and Mickelmore both did a 32.35 from Mickelmore, 32.28 from Neil.
Yeah, so they were within a tenth of a second of each other. Yeah, considerably impressive considering where we are in this race, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say, Barry's one of those guys that are a freak at saving tyre. He just seems to be able to get his tyres to last a lot longer than anyone else.
Yeah, and again, this is the difference at the back end of the race. It's those that can look after the tyres that... oh, yellow!
Jesberg!
Yeah,
Jesberg and Neil.
And Neil! Neil and Jesberg have been caught up in a big one, and we got a caution. Just as we were talking about Neil's efficiency with tyre wear, they done. Have a look at this. Massive moment here. And Neil, oh, Jesberg, no. Now, we'll have a second look at that, but it looks like Jesberg has come down. Not sure whether he got taily and lost it in transit there, and that's what's triggered him to slide, or whether he was coming down intentionally and just did not see Neil there. Let's have a second look. This is huge. And there's ramifications right throughout the field here, which I'll get to in a moment. But in the meantime, let's have a look at this again. We'll just keep our eyes on Jesberg. He's clipped the wall. That's what's happened. Bang. The wall has flicked him left, and Neil's a sitting duck in that one. This comes back to the point that we've made all through the night, because Aidan Schultz was prevalent earlier, racing as a lapped car. Jesberg, as a lapped car, has taken out the race contender, Barry Neil. Unbelievable. The game changes. And look at where we are. Look at where we are. We have got, after this lap, 70 to go. No one has got 70 laps out of a stint so far tonight. So this is huge right here and now. Do they come in and top up and get tyres? Absolutely. Are they then going to have to top up again before the end of the race? If we don't get a safety car, probably yes. This is huge right here, right now. It's a poorly timed caution. 3 or 4 laps time would have been perfect for everybody. But this is in a very tricky and delicate position.
And look who's at the head of the field.
I
Darren
know.
McKenzie.
I know. Darren McKenzie has found his way back to the front. Barry Neil in and out in 1 minute 1.62. How long can he persevere with that car for? What's it going to mean for his night? Look at this. Gosh. Aguilera Bates, Ariel, Campbell, and Johansson all in.
Yeah, it's really really disappointing for Barry. He was doing exceptionally well.
It was. Geez, the goalposts shift again, don't they?
It depends on how many caution laps we get. Some of these guys may be able to make it home with this stop.
This is very true.
Remember the first lap? I think the first stint for Josh Mickelmore was 66 laps from memory.
Just keep an eye out though for some teammates maybe pushing each other around. The second car pushing the lead car around. So yeah, little funny things happen here.
I was going to say, a couple of these guys got 67 out of it. A couple of these guys got to 67, but no one got to 69 or 70. They're the numbers we're talking.
Going to be a hard ask.
Absolutely it would be. Because when you're trying to go full tilt, trying to save that quarter of a litre a lap, I mean, a couple of these guys were able to get a fifth of the litre saved, or 0.18 or whatever it was. But then trying to find that extra 0.07, that's going to be the tough ask. And we are under caution. Lap 181 of 249. It's still Micklemore from Jackson and Douglas and Carroll Walden and Davies. Then Neil back out there. But what's the state of his car? How much damage did he sustain? How in the hell did he manage to stay on the lead lap? This is huge. Mackenzie, Patton, Drady and Williams have all visited pit lane just that time by. All of a sudden, we have one hell of a race on our hands, a fuel saver potentially. But if we get another caution in the next short while, fuel saving goes out the window because everyone will fuel home and make it.
And that's probably what they're all banking on, is trying to get another
banking
caution.
on a caution. Yeah, exactly. Who triggers it? Who sacrifices themselves for the greater cause? We wait and see. Oh boy. This is huge.
I'm behind Barry. The rear end of his car looks pretty beaten up. I don't know what the front looks like, but yeah, the rear end's pretty beaten up.
Unbelievable. What drama here. And now we're about to get our third restart of the night. Yeah, we've only had 3 cautions so far, folks. It's been a very clean race to this point. But now, what do the final 69 laps, or 68 laps in total? We'll find out now as we get back underway. 68 to go. Beautiful restart once again from Micklemore. Geez, JP, he's nailed them all night.
He's done a fantastic job. At this time, Dave Douglas starts to go with him, and JCW as well is ranging up on all of them. Look at Douglas on the outside.
Making the high line work right now and taking Carroll Walden with him. Have a look at this. They gang up. Barry Neal looks to be unimpeded by that incident from earlier. Whatever he's fixed in the pit lane, it's working for him. But will he suffer if he's out on his own? Is he going to be in a position where he's going to have to heavily rely on a tow from his teammate Paul Jackson for the rest of this race?
I'm going to say
We shall wait and see.
I'm going to say Micklemore's driving to a number here.
Absolutely. I would be surprised if he's the only one driving to a number. The number's 249. They need to get there. And do they get it? If they get another caution, all bets are off because they'll all pit. They'll all top up, they'll all get home. But 100%. If we don't get there, how many are going to have to come in for the old dreaded splash and dash in that final 10 laps?
Oh, last week we had 3 guys run out on the back straight as they crossed the start-finish line.
Exactly. That's it. That's how tight we're talking tonight, folks. This is huge. What drama. 65 to go. It's not going to take long to race on by. A little over half an hour of racing to go for you, folks. Hope you're enjoying it around Australia on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Where are we with regards to race time, JP? I know we were on air at 7:20, so we're into our third hour. This race hasn't quite yet hit the 2-hour mark, though. There it is, 1 hour and 50. So we're going to stretch well beyond 2 hours and 20 minutes here, folks. That's where we're headed right now. There's race time on your screen. So that gives you an indication about how long these guys have been slogging it out for. And yes, I get that to some of you it looks like it's just an oval race, but those first 100 laps before we got that caution on lap 99, they were intense. And the last stint was intense. The one in the middle even had a little bit of action as well. This is the 4th stanza of the race. Will it be the last? That's the great unknown. The 1 hour and 51 in the books. 186 laps. Carroll Walden has lost the tow here. Dave Douglas is now out in front. Carroll Walden's with him. Micklemore's lost the tow. Jackson's lost the tow. But towing him, or trying to get a tow from him, I should say, are Jackson and Neil. And if Neil loses Jackson's tow, it's over. Forget about it for Barry Neal. This is now a race. This is now a race, JP, where it's looking really good for Dave Douglas, Josh Mickelmore, and Josh Carroll Walden. Darren McKenzie's dropped down the order again substantially, back down to 8th. He has a habit of dropping down and popping back up again, so it'll be interesting to see if he's got some sort of resurgence left in the tank over the last 60 laps here.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably the driver that's going to be hurting the most is actually going to be Dave Douglas. JCW and Mickelmore are going to be looking to get a tow to save a little bit of fuel. But obviously, Dave seems to think that he's got enough fuel in the tank to make it to the end. So race on.
Absolutely. Now, just updating you too, folks. I know we can get lost in all the Olympic action at the moment, but Lewis Hamilton was fastest in free practice 3 ahead of Verstappen and Bottas. That's the final practice in Hungary before qualifying at 11 o'clock tonight. Mick Schumacher's had a crash as well, and a heavy one at that. So whether that car will be ready for qualifying remains to be seen. But 0.088 between Hamilton and Verstappen.
I'll jump in. Where's Ricardo, mate?
Well, let's have a look. I have to open the full results tab. Unfortunately, he wasn't in the top 5, but he was 8th. 1.1 off the pace. Norris was 6th. So Norris again has his measure, but Ricardo inside the top 10. So McLaren is starting to find something. Don't know how much of that something they'll end up finding, but they're starting to chip away at it, which is good to see. 191 to 249 here. Who's your money on, Mark?
Dave or JCW, I'd say. Dave Douglas is JCW.
Copy that. Brett Campbell's back in pit lane as well, folks. Willie Esberg is out of the race on lap 174. He won't feature here. So all of a sudden, Mark Johansson's staring down 19th without even trying, which is lovely. It's pretty easy for him now that he's just got to keep rotating around the circuit, and eventually he'll get to that number and move up a position. Unfortunately, of course, his race crawled by a tyre failure earlier in the evening. If you're just joining us, he's been our in-race reporter all throughout the night. Unfortunately, he spent about 16 minutes on pit road getting the car repaired, but it didn't trigger a caution. We've had 3, but that did not trigger a caution with Johansson's tyre failure. 193 of 249. 1 hour 54 in the books. We're racing towards the 2-hour mark. Now, of course, we've already had a close to 2-hour race this week on the platforms of Seven Shed Broadcasting. We had that Enduro from Chicago on Tuesday night, 1 hour and 50-odd minutes, I think it was. So we've already done a race of this distance this week, folks, but we're going well beyond that. And that was only 250k. This is 600. And look at Davies.
Oh, look.
Giving
go.
Neil the big hurry up. And we've got a caution. Oh, no. Barry Neal, you've got to get out of jail free card. This is an opportunity to come in and get more of that damage sorted. Had this one happen, Daniel Aguilera Bates has been turned around. Massive, massive moment. Back onto the racing line and into the wall. That was going to do it every day of the week. Dave Douglas, Josh Carroll Walden, Josh Mickelmore, the top 3. All the leaders will be in. They'll top up. They'll get home here and now. Now the race gets really interesting, because we were starting to settle into that little processional phase of everyone playing the fuel save caper. Now all bets are off. It's a slogfest right to the very end. Who's saved a set of tyres up their sleeve? Who's on the rubber they've got to the checkered flag? Let's wait and see. Well, 4th caution of the night. And have you noticed something, JP? The gaps between the green flag and the caution are getting tighter. We're getting underway, and then we're getting a caution come along. So this is the 4th one of the night, which, I mean, that's a fantastic effort from all and sundry to get that far. However, here's the other thing too, and I only just thought of this. How much fuel can the guys that have stayed out save under the caution? And will they be okay to race hard to the checkered flag? These guys are coming in and topping up. That's no doubt the sensible thing to do.
Douglas takes tyres. Mickelmore takes tyres.
There's 7 of them that have come in. And as you said, Mickelmore has taken tyres there, and one other.
Taken tyres.
So Mackenzie as well. So that's 3 that have taken tyres. But have those guys at the front saved enough fuel, or are they going to be able to save enough fuel behind the safety car to get it another 53 laps? 53 after the one we're on, of course. So many variables, so many unknowns. Just remember, a lot of these guys got 65, 66 laps out of a green flag run at the start of the race. That first stint was 99 laps of green flag running. So I don't know how much they can exactly save under the caution, JP, but we've had 2 of them in pretty quick succession, 178 and now 194.
I think some of these guys may duck in here now, Zach,
Yeah,
just
that's a
to
good
get
point too.
that 1 lap extra. I know I'm going in this lap to get tyres and fuel.
We'll make sure not to tell anyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not no. Oh dear. How good's this? Now, just updating you too. They're running the heats of the men's 100 at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, at the athletics track there in Tokyo. Don't have any other real updates for you because they're showing a replay of the Matildas in Great Britain in extra time from last night on 7 Mate, and they're showing the athletics on 7. So I don't have too many updates for you from the Olympics at the moment, but as soon as I get any information whatsoever, I will relay it through to you. I've got the monitor here in the booth on the 7 Networks broadcast of Tokyo.
So this is going to be interesting, the restart here. JCW 5th, Douglas in 6th, Micklemore in 7th.
Yeah.
Everyone ahead of them pitted. Paul Jackson pitted on 178, 179 for Neil, 179 for Legg, 180 for Drady. So they are going to be on old tyres.
Exactly right. And as you pointed out, a couple of the guys that pitted that time around had a fresh set of rubber up their sleeve. And that may come back to serve them very, very well. That being said as well, I mean, you look at this. Lap 197, these guys pitted 178. They've got at least 5 or 6 laps of this stint under yellow, so they haven't been wearing them out strenuously. So that may also boosted their lifespan or bolstered their lifespan. We'll wait and see. So the pace car will come to the pit road next time by. He's going around one more time.
What you will see, though, Zach, is those cars leading are going to have to be very careful on the restart, not to light up those back tyres with the older rubber. Whereas the cars that have just gone into the pits, they'll probably be able to get the power down to the ground a little bit more easily.
Just going to jump in here, JP. A PB for Australia's Rowan Browning. Heat 7 of the men's 100. He's gone through the qualifying time of 10.01. That's pretty impressive from the Australian who was starting on the inside of the track. You know, when you're up against the Jamaicans and you can beat them at their own game, that's actually pretty good for the Aussies. So he's qualified with a PB. He's looking good for a start in the semi-finals there, the men's 100. So that's well done for Rowan Browning. Semi-finals tomorrow morning, and then the final tomorrow night, I believe, is the case for the men's 100 there in Tokyo. So no, it's promising to have a sprinter among the ranks once more. Have a look at that. Tent City and Motorhome City and Camper Van City in North Carolina. Lights out on the safety car. We've just gone past the 2-hour mark. We still have a solid 25, 26 minutes of racing ahead of us here, folks. This safety car pushes the race length out beyond that 2-hour 20 I was talking about, because this time by the line will be 51 laps to go. Let's get back to work. Great restart, Paul Jackson. Neil will look to tuck in behind and get a tow. That's exactly what he's done. Legg's there as well. Legg could all of a sudden be a contender here. Gained 12 positions, up from 15th to 3rd throughout the course of the evening. Hasn't been a factor all night.
Have a look at Douglas.
Douglas is on a charge. Have a look at Davey Douglas down the inside. Couldn't get it done. But Legg's one of those guys, JP, along with Neil and Jackson, that didn't pit that time round. Douglas has got by. So you got Jackson, Neil, and Legg all basically counting on another caution here to get them out of jail with the fuel save. And Douglas is on a charge to second. Look at Micklemore coming through with him as well, and JCW for good measure. Down the back straight. Log jam traffic. Look at this. Micklemore down the inside of Douglas. The second. For how long? Not long at all, because look at this. He's ranging up there. Douglas is trapped. He's got Jackson right there in front of him. Micklemore beside him and nowhere to go. And Micklemore down the inside to the lead. Micklemore leads in Charlotte.
Perfect execution there, and he puts Jackson between him and Douglas, so that's going to put Douglas behind him for a little bit longer and give Micklemore a chance to extend that lead.
And I'll correct my English there because it's terrible. Micklemore leads at Charlotte is what I should have said. 2 hours and 2 minutes and 20 seconds gone. All the twos lining up there at the moment. Lap 202, incidentally. So 202 on the clock and 202 on the lap scoreboard as well. Down the back straight. We are inside 50 to go. We're inside the final 20% of the race. 80% of the race in the book. We've got 12 cars still on the lead lap. The last of those is Tristan Koch. Scott McClintock, the first lap down. Aiden Schultz, 2 laps down. So too Jamie Nankervis at the moment. Probably forget about them. I can't see them getting back on the lead lap from here now. That's a sprint to the checkered flag. We still have out there at the moment, I'm very happy to report, 20 cars circulating. Will Jesberg actually make it 19? Will Jesberg get out of business in 19th? And Brett Campbell now back in pit lane as well. Mark Johansson in about 2 laps time is going to move himself up into 19th position. Reese Polito, Will Jesberg, Derek Jacobs and Terry Marwood. So you can see where I tripped over my tongue there, can't you? They are the ones that have retired thus far.
It is
out
on.
of business. It is well and truly on, JP. This is exciting. Dave Douglas and Josh Micklemore, 1 and 2. Micklemore skip clear, half a second. This is awesome. Paul Jackson, Barry Neal, then Stephen Williams. And Williams is still a threat here, no doubt about that. Look at the margins. On our leaderboard here, everyone in the top 9 is reading with an orange number next to their name, which means that within half a second of the car in front. This is awesome. Don't take your eyes off this for the next half hour, folks. All eyes on the Firecracker 600 and the final stanza thereof. Is there another caution? Is there a sting in the tail? Will someone spring a surprise? Will the new tyres taken by the likes of Mackenzie after stopping on lap 195 there pay dividends in the long run? Or can the guys that stopped on 178 get back into the fight? We will wait and see. And how will that extra round of pit stops balance out in the equation?
Have a look at this, Zach. JCW got kind of hung out to dry there on the restart, and he's now down to 9th.
And with a lot of work to do, JP. A lot of work to do from this point forward. This is lap 207 for you. 43 to go. And at some point, that scoreboard will tick over to give you the countdown of how many laps to go, folks. But at the moment, it reads 207 to 249. So 43 to go. JCW is sitting there in 9th and starting to drop off too. He's not able to go with those guys. Now, that is a little bit surprising, I must say. If anyone's asking for another caution right now, it's JCW. Oh, boy.
Now, this is interesting as well. You've got Aiden Schultz, who's in position 14.
Yeah.
Now fighting with the leaders.
Yep.
And
Nigel Patton. Nigel Patton is second, JP. Can you believe that? Up 21 positions tonight. Patton is second.
Where the hell did that come from?
Exactly my thought. Where the hell did that come from?
And look
or
at
did
him.
he
He's
come from?
strong.
More to the point. He's right there on the inside of Micklemore. You're absolutely right. He's strong. Is this the turn up for the cards we've been waiting for tonight? Look at this. He last stopped on 195, so he's good to go to the end. And he's going to get pushed all the way through here from Mackenzie as well. We go on board with him. Mickelmore out in front. Mackenzie in behind. And Schultz, well, he's a sitting duck at the moment. He's the best part of 2 laps down, but he's dragging the pack along.
Now this is really interesting. Nigel Patton all night long hasn't had a mention, and all of a sudden he's in second when it counts the most.
He started last. 23rd to second, JP. He started last. This is extraordinary. And will it end in triumph or tragedy? That's what we wait to find out. 39 laps to go.
I tell you what, don't take anything away from Josh Mickelmore. He's driven a brilliant race tonight. Darren McKenzie's done the same. Dave Douglas has done the same. But wouldn't it be amazing for Nigel to take out the win tonight?
Absolutely. And look at this. Mickelmore down on the inside. Schultz not making life easy for him as well. Patton will want to go with Mickelmore here. He won't want Schultz to sit between him and the leader. If Patton is going to get to the front, he needs to get by Schultz at the same time Mickelmore does. He's sitting right there. Mackenzie will try and give him a push through. So too Dylan Davies, but still Schultz wants to race with these guys for the moment. And he's going to insist on leading the pack through turn 3 and 4 one more time. 37 to go next time by the strike.
Patton might have made a little mistake here.
And down the inside as a result of that comes Mackenzie. Mackenzie on the inside to second. And Patton slips back to third. Dylan Davies looking for a way through. He's sitting there in fourth at the moment. Still side by side, second and third. Through turn 2 on the run down the back straight. Nothing in this at the moment. The top 3 separated by, make it the top 4, separated by the better part of 3/4 of a second. And that's it. Davies to third on the inside of Mackenzie. Mackenzie fights back on the inside on the run down to 1. Davies wants to go with him on the outside and force the issue. And look at Dave Douglas just sitting there with the best seat in the house.
And this could actually work in favour.
Unbelievable.
This could work in favour of Mickelmore. I mean, he's right behind Aiden there. He's got the toe. He doesn't need to do anything silly. He can keep an eye on the guys behind him from where he is.
Exactly. And if any of these guys come to blows, well, it's going to be Mackenzie's to sweep up, isn't it? Or even Douglas's. Mackenzie stayed out of trouble all night. He's back there in third. He was as low as 9th earlier on. That's an extraordinary performance from the championship leader, but again, it proves why he is the championship leader. He finds a way to the business end of the leaderboard at the business end of the night. 2:15 to 2:49. Mickelmore, Patton, Mackenzie. So Patton has got back by Mackenzie. And now he's out in pursuit of Mickelmore. Schultz is still dragging Mickelmore along though. That's good to see. Someone we haven't mentioned tonight is Schultz's teammate, Ruben Phelps. He was one of the notable absentees from the field tonight. So Schultz hasn't had anyone essentially teammate-wise to work with here. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. Mackenzie and Douglas and Davies fighting over 3rd, 4th and 5th. And Davies is all of a sudden back in 5th. The 21 positions gained for Patton. That is extraordinary. Mark Johansson has now got past Will Jesberg, who is out of the race. So Johansson is the last of the runners, sitting there 19 laps down. Oh, sorry, my apologies. 31 laps down in 19th. More to the point. Dyslexic moment for ZW. Across the line we go.
Nigel Patton trying to make his way around Aiden Schultz now. Looks like he's going to get the job done.
Yep, and that was necessary. He needed to get that done in order to be able to go with Mickelmore and have a crack here. So where the hell did Patton come from? This is the Stephen Bradbury moment.
I think we're going to have to ask him that question.
100%. If he's in here for a chat post-race, we certainly will. We'll have the top 3 in for a quick chat at the end of this, folks. Of course, naturally, because of the race running a little bit longer, We'll try and keep the post-race show a little bit shorter for you tonight.
Tell you what, Aiden Schultz isn't having a bar of it though. He's sticking
not
with
at all.
Patton.
He's a
Oh, look
racer
how
right-
close they get.
Whoa, jeez. He's a racer right till the end, Schultz, but at the same time, and I love the bloke and I love his passion for it, but at the same time, we've already had one contender in Barry Neal, who's lingering there in 7th at the moment, taken out in an incident with lap traffic tonight. I would hate to see the same thing happen to either Patton or Douglas, because Schultz is in there forcing the issue.
100%. And that's actually enabled Douglas to get right up on the back of Patton.
Exactly.
And it's given Micklemore a bit of a free kick as well.
Now, yeah, exactly, and they probably didn't want Micklemore to get the free kick. Now, who wants to lead and who wants to follow here? Can they work together to try and track Micklemore down, or is Micklemore in a position now where it's his to lose? We've got 30 to go. 30 to go. This is awesome. Side by side again in the battle for second. Dave Douglas. He gets to second now on the inside of Patton.
Really smart there by Patton.
Really,
Didn't fight it. He's going to sit behind Douglas now and just maybe work together and start to reel in Micklemore.
The better part of about 15 minutes of racing left here, folks. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch the dial. We will take you all the way through to the end of the race and beyond, as it stretches towards the 2.5 hour mark in its conclusion. And is there a sting in the tail? Is there another caution here waiting to just bunch this field up once more and let all hell break loose one last time? And who would you favour in that situation of a late race restart? I don't think I'd want to be the person responsible for that crash that bunches up the field this late in the fight. Although that being said, from a television standpoint, it'd make for very good viewing.
Make for some very, very good viewing. But there we go. Patton makes his way around another back marker. Sorry, Douglas does, and Patton now makes his way around the back marker as well.
Yeah, that was the 34, of course. And your Aguilera, yeah. Yep, so Aguilera Bates is now 5 laps down on this field. We are 224 laps in. This is the 224th that they're circling now. Douglas is 0.7 away from Micklemore, so Micklemore's just dropped off a little bit, but he's still under tremendous pressure. Well, Micklemore's just cleared out a little bit, I should say. Douglas is still under pressure from Patton. Then Mackenzie and Davies fighting and arguing over the same piece of real estate. Then you've got Jackson and Neal. Then Williams and Drady, I should say. Paul Drady is 9th. However, once you get past Davies, you've got Jackson and Neal about 4 seconds off the pace. Then you got Williams on target to chase and track down Neal, and that would be for 7th. Then it's another 2.5, 3 seconds back to Drady, who's got Carol Walton for company. Now, what the hell has happened? You can ask the what the hell happened, or where the hell did Patton come from? But what has happened to Josh Walton? Josh Carroll Walton, the JCW. Number 35, my favourite livery of the night, just because it was plain canary yellow or Australian gold, depending upon which way you want to put it.
Perhaps.
And he's struggling to hold on to a top 10 finish here, Jake.
Perhaps he didn't have the advantage of being of having that last set of tyres up his sleeve.
Well, that's a fair point.
Now, just out of interest here, Mark's gone into the pits, but he's been in the pits for over a minute now.
Yeah, so let's check in with him. What's going on, mate?
Nothing, mate. I just wanted to get out of the road of these leaders. It's a fast-paced race. I don't need another mobile chicane. I've done my 125, so...
That's it? So you're going to call it done for the night?
Yeah, I'll come back up and join you guys in the booth for the last 20 odd laps.
Why not? It's been a pretty good seat to be in for the duration of this so far. 227 laps. Still none the wiser who wins this thing, but you've got to say at this point, Mark, that Micklemore's looking strong.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a gap there, so, you know...
They're closing in on him.
Yeah, it's just going to come down to tyres, I guess.
Correct. There aren't too many races where we can say this, JP. First, second, and fourth remain exactly where they started 2 hours, 16 minutes and 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, testament to their driving ability, their pace, and their tactics.
Absolutely.
But I tell you,
Now-
look at this.
Look at it. Look at it. Douglas is within 0.4 of a second now. Patton's struggling to go with Douglas, but if Douglas and Mickelmore start duking it out, Patton might have an opportunity here. This is huge.
I think the smart move by Patton here is to sit back. They've got pace on him and let these guys fight it out. And at this stage, he's got third in the bag if he doesn't do anything silly or if there is no more cautions.
Is there anyone here that would be displeased with seeing a rear to first performance and Nigel Patton winning this thing? I think that would just be awesome. As a talking point of the series going forward, that yes, you can place whatever emphasis you want on qualifying, but I just won this from the rear of the field. That would be huge. 2:49 is the target. We're on lap 2:30. And look at Douglas now. Look at Douglas now. Mickelmore's advantage has shrunk considerably. It's now 0.19 of a second between first and second. 2 car lengths. That's it. Look at this. Patton's starting to be left behind now. Ben Davies, Mackenzie. No real fight going on in the top 10 at the moment, apart from the battle for the lead, which is exactly what we want to focus on. Eyes forward for the remaining 18 laps here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is incredible. I can't believe the intensity of this race, boys. The fact that we have there's been no real time to stop and breathe tonight. It's been elbows out, hard racing, intense racing from the get-go. There's always been something happening on the circuit. We're a little bit worried because of the nature of the race, because of the length of the race, because of the size of the field, that it might get a little bit processional in parts. And it may have done in that, 60 to 100 phase when the first round of pit stops was completed and we had a very long green flag run. But since then, Mark, it has just been gangbuster stuff.
Oh, look, I'm wrapped into the racing tonight. It's been hard fought right throughout the field, and as you said, it's been a hard fought race.
But it has. Well, who's your money on now? Because look at Dave Douglas. These are the. Just remember that Mickelmore claimed pole position, but by the narrowest of margins. Douglas was, I think it was 0.06, was it not, the margin between first and second? And it was all because Douglas looped it coming out of 2 on his second flying lap. He had good pace. There's no reason why, if he had kept it straight, he couldn't have had pole position himself. So this is now a case of Mickelmore wanting to convert that pole position and Douglas wanting to make a statement that it should have been him on the pole in the first place to begin with. 2:35 at 2:49, 15 to go. Let's go all the way to the checkered flag. About 7.5 minutes of racing to come. We've just gone past the 2-hour, 20-minute mark. And we really hope you've enjoyed our commercial-free coverage on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. We're not done yet. There's a post-race show to come, folks. It's a big night here. We will take you through till beyond 10:30, I would say, the way things are going. It's just going 10 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. On night 8 of the Tokyo Olympics, we'll update you on what's going on there later on as soon as we get more information in. But there isn't much coming in at this point in time. Mickelmore with 14 to go. This time by the line leads Douglas, Patton, Davies and Jackson. That's the top 5, but the battle is between first and second. Forget about the rest. Third, fourth are pretty well locked and loaded as long as they keep it on the black stuff. Keep an eye on 5th and 6th though, because Paul Jackson is under serious pressure from Darren McKenzie. We've got our eyes on the first 2 though.
And Paul and Darren are 1 and 2 in the championship too. So that'll be a Paul won't want to let Darren back through.
No, we certainly will not. And just quickly, too, guys, USA and Czech Republic have just got underway in men's basketball. So updates from there throughout the course of the night. Of course, that has no implications on the Boomers in the group stage, but in the knockout stage, we could end up facing what they dubbed the Dream Team, the USA. So keep your eyes peeled on all of that. In the meantime, this is Dave Douglas in second position, all over the back of Micklemore, 0.3 the margin. We are inside 15 laps to go. Next time by the line will be 11 laps to go. And still none the wiser as to who's going to win it as this race stretches towards what will be 2 hours, 28 minutes. Extraordinary stuff. We'll get it done just inside 2 hours, 28 on my numbers.
I'm going to jump back to the Olympics there, Zach.
Yeah, mate.
I would have to say, my money, the performance of the Olympics so far would have to be the Matildas.
Absolutely. And that was phenomenal last night, what they were able to do in extra time. 2-2 at the end of regular time. They got a goal late in the first half of extra time. They got a goal just after the kickoff, 18 seconds after the kickoff in the second half of extra time. Yeah, sure, England got one back, but the damage was done with that goal. And the Aussies went on to win 4-3. The big task right now is Sweden for them. And I say that because Sweden beat us 4-2 in the preliminaries. They're our target in the semi-finals. Whatever happens from here, the Matildas play for medal. So they either play for gold or bronze. That's great. But they'd love nothing more than to get redemption on Sweden for the group stage loss.
Oh, definitely.
That's the big task, and it's Monday night. It's 9 o'clock. I can't wait.
We've got the 2 leaders coming up to lap traffic again.
And what sort of a role is lap traffic going to play here? Because we've seen throughout tonight, Aiden Schultz, Will Jesberg haven't made it too easy for the front runners to come through. The back markers have, because they've got pace in their own right, they've wanted to run with the leaders. Hopefully this lap traffic here won't make it too difficult for them as they cross the line once more. 2:42 or 2:49, 8 to go. Oh, geez. The nerves, the tension, the anxiety right here and now. It's all-time high. This helps Micklemore, though. Micklemore gets a tow right here, and Douglas isn't close enough to get it. So Micklemore gains 1/10 of a second. His advantage extends out to 0.4. Keeping my eyes peeled as well for an update from the NRL too, ladies and gentlemen. I'm expecting something through. Yes, there is a revised draw coming through just now for what will happen with the rest of round 20. I will bring you that at the end of this race. For those of you that are tuning in that weren't able to watch Saturday night NRL, so we ended up being Plan B for you. And we appreciate your support too, by the way. Come back and join us every Saturday night, would you? Except for AFL Grand Final weekend. The boys are having a day off, no doubt, to watch the game and sink a couple of cold lemonades. 2 hours 25.
There's only one game that's an important one out of today's cancelled games, mate, and that's the Bunnies.
Yeah. They were due to play in Rockhampton too, so that was disappointing for them. Really, really disappointing. But in the meantime, we keep our eyes peeled on this battle. It is still 0.4 of a second. It is Micklemore just over Douglas. We have 5 laps to go next time by the line. We are racing towards the checkered flag. 5 to go. In North Carolina at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, we are almost at the end of the Firecracker 600. Round 24 of the series for the Weekend Warriors. Cup car racing, Saturday Night Motorsport Simshed broadcasting. Who wins it from here? You would argue that Micklemore looks strong right now.
Yeah,
Patton's under serious pressure, though, as well, boys, from Dylan Davies. Dylan Davies is closed right up onto the back of Patton, so we could all of a sudden have Patton dropping off the podium, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Davies down the inside to third. What a move from him. What a charge home. Patton's hung out to dry. The battle for third is ignited in the closing stages.
Yeah, we've got some inside information here. Trev Micklemore is telling me that 31 has got good boots on board, so whatever, if Dave Douglas has got anything for Micklemore, now's the time to do it.
Absolutely. Now, have a look at this. This is Patton and Davies. Neither of these guys want to wreck. They're fighting for the podium. And
Dylan-
just remember, if we do get a caution now or the next lap by, it'll be green, white, checker.
Dylan definitely doesn't want to do anything. He's sitting third in the championship. So,
Caution,
we're under
caution,
yellow.
caution.
Oh, would you believe it? Would you believe it? We just got the caution we didn't want. Unbelievable. But 59 out of business. Is it the 59?
55, mate.
55, my apologies. So the 55, that's of course Adam Ariel. And he's down there, bang, into the wall. That has triggered a green-white checker finish to the Firecracker 600. And that will extend race time out beyond 2.5 hours. What a slog for these guys tonight. What a slog for us.
So the big question is anyone going to be brave and do like they did last week at New Hampshire, dive in and take on fresh boots?
Exactly right. Now, just while these guys make those decisions, Super Saturday becomes Super Sunday, and Sunday's fixtures have been moved to Monday for the NRL. So the way this plays out, the Knights and the Raiders at 1:50 p.m. tomorrow, the Storm and the Panthers at 4:05. That now becomes the Channel 9 Sunday football game. The Dragons and Rabbitohs at 6:25. Monday, 6 p.m. Bulldogs Titans, and 8:05 will be the Sharks and Sea Eagles. So just with regards to all of that, Saturday moves to Sunday, Sunday moves to Monday. The NRL will get back on the field tomorrow. All those games will be played, I do believe I'm right in saying, at Suncorp Stadium. So as to keep the NRL teams all within their bubble. Look at this! Look at this! Barry Neal, Paul Jackson, Paul Drady, Steve Williams, Josh Carroll-Walton and Tristan Kosh all coming in to throw boots at it, possibly, or throw fuel at it. And that's the other point. Because we're going to extend beyond 249, how were these guys on fuel? Did they need a little bit? Yes, would be the answer to that, it would seem. Josh Carroll-Walton up on the jack as well.
The big question there, Zach, is as JCW came into the pits, he locked up. So maybe he may have been pinned there, passing that yellow line, going too quick. So we'll just have to wait and see with that.
They've got a lot of cars to get past in this green-white checker, though.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, JP. 100%. So they're the sacrificial lamb in all of this, aren't they? But remembering, so what? Just talk us through the procedure here, Mark. Do we get one crack at green-white checker, or do we get multiple cracks at it?
No, just the one crack.
Okay, just the one crack. So if someone mucks up here, it's over. Just remember that, folks. So Micklemore and Douglas are going to be side by side for the restart. How are those guys on fuel? Considering they stopped on 195, you would suggest they're okay. They would be fine. Dylan Davies, Nigel Patton, they're sitting there pitted on 195. Darren McKenzie, 195, they're fine. The guys that had to come in are the guys that hadn't stopped since 185, I think you'll find, or 178 or whatever it might have been. That will be their problem. They needed a quick splash and dash. They're going to have 2 to go whenever we come back by the line when those safety car lights are out. The safety car is going to go around. We're on lap 250. We're into overtime. By the looks of it, we'll do 251 behind the pace car as well. So the restart will be 252. The race extends out to 253 laps. And no, we don't charge for the overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We're all here for the fun of it because this race just ignited to a whole new level because all of a sudden the pressure on these two at the front from the restart, it's going to be coming from every angle. Micklemore's going to be pressured by Douglas, Davies, Patton and McKenzie as well. Don't rule Darren McKenzie out in this. Barry Neal, unbelievably, despite getting caught up in that incident with Will Yasberg, still sits 6th. Paul Jackson is 7th. And they've just swapped around, actually. So they're just trying to sort out who's where in the order here. We're going to go around one more time. We will get green, white, checker from lap 251, 2 and 3. This is awesome. So 250 in the book, 3 to go. The lights should go out. I'm keeping my eye on the safety car. Lights should go out on the safety car. Yes, they do. So this time by will be the restart. We will go back to green one last time. We only get one take at this. That's the only difference between the sim world and the real world, ladies and gentlemen. But what a way to end the Firecracker 600. And it has been a Firecracker from first until last. And it's just about to reach its summit.
So Barry
Who's running on,
Neal,
boys?
Barry Neal and Paul Jackson, first cars to have pitted for tyres.
Correct.
Running in 6 and 7. So let's see what they can do.
Also, Zach, all bets are on here because
Oh, that's right.
you can legally block here, so we may see some blocking moves.
We may see some blocking. We may see a couple of shunts. We wait and see. We've got 12 cars on the lead lap. Aidan Schultz back in 13th is the first of those to be 2 laps down. There's no one a lap down. They're all 2 laps down or beyond. This is awesome. 18 cars still on track to bring us back to green. For the final restart, round 24, Weekend Warriors Cup Car Racing, presented by Sim Shift Magazine. How good's that? Short Shift, I should say. Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine. I knew I'd get that wrong. Getting set for the final restart of the Firecracker 600 on SimShed
Nice
Broadcasting.
restart.
Let's go! Great restart from Mickelmore. Gone! Clears out of the blocks. Cleanly. Now, Davies all over the back of Douglas, and Neil's up to 4th. Mackenzie's up to 5th. Patton's dropped all the way down to 7th because Jackson's come through as well. You ride with Mickelmore. Look at Neil. Neil's up to 3rd and on a huge charge here. Barry Neil, could he all of a sudden get the job done? He was in the wall 70 laps ago. Trouble! And they keep it together. They keep it on the black stuff. We stay green. Barry Neil is 2nd. Up there on the outside of Dave Douglas. He's got the job done. Mickelmore in a little bit of trouble here because Neil's charging hard. And look at JCW coming through as well. He was nowhere 3 laps ago. He's going to be on the podium. Now, can Mickelmore hold on and will Barry Neil get him on the run to the line? There's a little bit of a
touch.
There's a bump.
Too wide. Too wide.
And Carl Waller's going to get the job done. Would you believe it? Oh, the Firecracker 600 goes to the 35 in one of the most incredible finishes you'll ever see. That is awesome.
That is an unbelievable finish. I just can't get over that.
Unbelievable.
As you said, Zach, Barry 70 laps ago in the wall and come through and to finish 2nd. Unbelievable. And JCW, what a drive from him.
I'm speechless. What the hell was that? Carol Walden, he was 10th about 10 minutes ago. Now he's going to ride it up and celebrate. He took new rubber as well. Barry Neil took new rubber. Josh Mickelmore 3rd in all of that after leading the way much of the night. Christian Koch, there's a story for you. He charged through to 4th. Dave Douglas 5th. So he dropped 3 positions off the final restart. Stephen Williams up to 6th. Paul Drady 7th. Darren McKenzie dropped to 8th in all of that. And he was 5th off the final restart. Then Dylan Davies was 9th, and he was 3rd or 4th. So I mean, there were some huge losers out of that in a numerical standpoint, folks. Some huge losers out of that final restart. Those final 2 laps that took us to 253 of the originally scheduled 249. I love NASCAR. It's the only sport in the world where you get more than advertised. I love it. Paul Jackson, as far as motorsport's concerned anyway, Paul Jackson was 10th. So and Nigel Patton, who was 3rd for much of that last stint before that last safety car came in, he ended up down in 11th. There's the results on your screen, folks. 0.3 of a second. Carol Wald, hang on. What's happened to Barry Neil here? Barry Neil's not showing up on my results sheet here, boys. I'm sure the boys are going to check that out because Tristan Koch is now showing on the podium. So Carol Walden, Mickelmore, and Koch are now showing as the top 3. Barry Neil is not showing up on the leaderboard. Now, unless he's copped a penalty from iRacing or something, we'll wait and see. I'm not sure. Let's Yeah. So there might be something on your iRacing screen, JP, that will tell that story. I don't have access to that. I've still got Barry Neal showing second. But in the meantime, what it's showing there, unofficial and provisional, Carol Walden, Micklemore, 0.3 of a second. Chevy 1-2, Ford 3-4 through Kosh and Douglas. Then the Chevy of Stephen Williams is fifth. Grady, McKenzie, Davies, Jackson and Patton now showing as the top 10. The first two Toyotas were 8th and 9th. Barry Neal has copped a 35-second penalty. That's what's happened. Now, what for? I'm not entirely sure. Scott McClintock is showing as 11th. Barry Neal is showing as 12th. Then Aidan Schultz is the first of those 2 laps down. In fact, no one a lap down. Everyone 2 laps or beyond. Now, Curvis Legg, Daniel Aguilera Bates, Adam Ariel, and Brett Campbell. The top 18, the 18 home. And then Mark Johansson, of course, the first of the retirements. Will Jesberg, the second. Then Reese Bolitho, Derek Jacobs, and Terry Marwood, and Greg Spencer. Wow. That was just incredible. I have no words left for any of that. That is just insane. Let's bring them all in. We've got about 7 or 8 drivers jumping in to have a chat to us here. And there's a lot to try and unravel and dissect in all of that. I'm going to go to Barry Neal first because that's the developing story. Barry, you came across the line in second, the margin 0.07. We see that you've got a 35-second penalty from iRacing, though. What's happened, mate?
I tapped. Because I had that incident earlier on, I got 8 incident points. I don't know where else I got incident points, but just going into that last corner, I just gave Josh a bit of a tap, and it sent me over the limit.
Oh, no. What a cruel way. What a cruel way to end what was an incredible charge back from you, mate. I don't want to focus on the post-race penalty. I want to focus on the charge through because, let's face it, 70 laps from home, it looked like you were curtains. You're in the wall. You're caught up in an incident when Will Jesberg clouded the wall and just catapulted into you because the wall flung him back left, and you were in the crossfire, if you don't mind me saying so. You then had to pit, get some damage sorted for a minute, then begin the charge back through the field. I didn't think it'd end as well as it did. And then all of a sudden you get that caution with 3 to go. You come in, you grab a fresh set of rubber and you throw everything at it to fall 700ths of a second short and then only just be pipped on the line with incident points. That's got to be disappointing, but you got to be proud of the fight back after the incident with Jesberg.
Yeah, no, I think, like Josh, Livermore and I, we seem to be having some good scraps in JCW around the lead. You know, we're kind of having some fun, and as the stints went on, we seem to be still, I'm sure I'll have a look back, but we were running close and stuff, so that was really good. Yeah, when I got down to 7 or 8 seconds back, and I thought she was all over, but I just put my head down and tried to come back. And I was that second to last pit stop, and we were debating whether we go and get tyres or not, and we kind of decided not to, which in the end worked out all right, but it wasn't looking that flashy choice, you know, with 5 laps to go.
Well, this is very true. Stay there with me, mate. I'm going to come back to you very shortly, get your thoughts on Darlington next week. Aidan Schultz, let's go to you. I'm gonna get to Josh Carroll Walden in just a moment. I want to bring in Schultzy here because at the end of the day, it's a case of what might have been for you because you had the pace to go with him, but there was an unscheduled pit stop in there. Just talk us through what happened, please.
Oh, yeah, one of those races, mate. It happens. It's a long race. Yeah, I was sitting then in behind him trying to play the long strategy. You know, the race doesn't start till the last pit stop. And in this type of race, which is over 2 hours long, it's a lot of concentration for a long time. So, unfortunately, when Mark Joe got caught in that incident earlier, I come into the pit stop in P6 and I got a black flag for passing under yellow because someone didn't obviously go or didn't press escape or something like that. So I was right in there behind Paul Jackson in P5 and just positioning the car into a good position in the end. So for the rest of the race, I had Ruben in my ear and we're just trying to get those laps back. There was nothing we could do. It was just fighting back and just trying to get the best finish we could get, to be honest. So don't know whether it was an iRacing glitch or whatever, but it was unfortunate because we did have a really quick car tonight, and I thought we would add something to at least challenge for possibly a top 5. You could see us there late in the stints, challenging, trying to get that lap back. I didn't really want to fight with the guys and ruin their chance at the front, but I really need to fight to try get that lap back in case there was a caution. So yeah, it is what it is. We still finished 13th, so it's all good.
Yeah, and you were the first of the cars that were a lap down or more. Mate, stay with me. Again, I'll get your thoughts on Darlington shortly. Apologies to those of you at home. I said that it'd be a short post-race show, but there's a lot to dissect after all of that carnage of the last 2 laps. Incredible scenes here. Let me bring in Josh Mickelmore and Josh Carroll-Walden right now. JCW, extraordinary from you. Nowhere with 5 laps to go in terms of the outright results here. And then you pull out one of the great performances thanks to the caution and the ability to head in and throw some fresh boots at it. You pull out one of the all-time great green-white checker performances to pip Barry Neal at the post, upset the pole sitter who led most of the way, and grab a win from out of the clouds, mate. You snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. Well done.
Cheers, Zach. Yeah, man, it was crazy. Like, 5 to 10 laps to go. I was basically ready to jump straight into bed. But yeah, then that caution came out, and yeah, it changed everything, man. But yeah, like, even grit lining up, to take the green flag on that green white checker. I still didn't think I was going to win because I had Barry in front of me. I had Paul Jackson. I had Paul Drady, who is the most experienced Australian, New Zealand oval sim racer who's been doing this thing for 2 decades now. And yeah, they all look fast, and yeah, man, I did not expect to win it, but yeah, I just basically put my foot down, went for the gaps, and yeah, man, that's a Bradbury if there ever was one.
The Bradbury term's been used a bit tonight. Don't get me wrong. It was an extraordinary race. I mean, you went hard, you went early. You were in the top 5 for much of the night, and then was it a tyre wear issue that just saw you drop down the order there? Because at the end of the day, that was something that Mark Johansson was talking about here right from the outset, that tyres were going to be the big talking point of the race.
Yeah. I actually hit the wall on the in turn 4. It wasn't major, but I think it did enough damage to my car, so it was going to be a damage. I did get it fixed, but the car wasn't exactly the same, quite to my liking. I think as the race went on, as the track got colder, I just wasn't able to keep the tyre life going. Like, I was quite good, in the long runs during the day and the late afternoon, but like once the night hit, I just didn't have the pace of like Mickelmore, Barry. I just didn't have quite their pace. So yeah, it's a bit of temperature and damage, I guess, all rolled into one.
Indeed. Stay there, mate, because obviously as the race winner, we'll come back and get some thank yous from you in just a moment. Fair bit to get through here. Josh Mickelmore. How unlucky. It looked like victory was yours despite a great push from Dave Douglas for most of that final stint there. It looked like you had the win locked and sealed. All of a sudden it became a gamble situation. You win some, you lose some, though, because it was one of those situations where you had to choose whether you were going in for tyres or whether you were staying out. And it was also determined on whether you need a little bit of a top up in the fuel department as well. You were clearly okay to go to the end, and all of a sudden here comes this yellow thing down the inside at the end, and the orange thing as well. You got to be you got to consider yourself unlucky in all of that. You started on pole position, you led most of the night, you end up second.
Yeah, on lap 190, I think it was, when we pitted under yellow there. That's when I used my last set of tyres, so that was it to the end. So I couldn't pit that last one. I ran out of tyres. So yeah, we're just hoping that we didn't get a yellow at the end there. Unfortunately, we did with just 2 laps to go. But yeah, the Mission Motorsport number 31 was pretty quick tonight. Just a bit of bad luck at the end, unfortunately.
What I'm hearing here, ladies and gentlemen, is that Josh Carroll Walden owes Adam Ariel a case of beer, and Adam Ariel owes Josh Micklemore a case of beer. But that's a case for them to sort out after we get off air here. Extraordinary. I mean, Josh, the intensity of that race was just something that I couldn't quite wrap my head around, mate. There was only one instance where we noticed it settle into a little bit of a mundane processional type rhythm, and it was after that first round of green flag pit stops, because remember, the first 99 laps were caution free. It was intense. It was flat out hard racing. There was a little bit of fuel saving going on. We were all noting that because our numbers suggested that you'd get 57, 58 laps out of the tank. Some of you had got 66, 67. So it was a little bit of a fuel save factor, which we'll come back to. But from your standpoint, for most of the night, you had the likes of Barry and Dave Douglas, and also Darren McKenzie, and Nigel Patton was up there at one point as well, throwing the cat amongst the pigeons. And Aidan Schultz was racing side by side with you guys, despite being 2 laps down. There was no time to really get complacent or get comfortable during the evening, was there?
No, like you said, I was side by side with Barry Neal there for laps after laps there for a while. We weren't in touch, and it was really respectful racer. I appreciate that, Barry, as well. And also with Dave as well, and Darren McKenzie were both racing pretty hard, and Nigel as well, creeping up there at the end there. But yeah, no, it's good, clean, hard racing, like you said. There's no incidents, and that's what we want to see.
Stay there, mate. I'll come back to you very shortly. Christian Kosh, you came from out of the clouds in the end there, and you've ended up on the podium, mate. Well done.
I just followed JCW.
So Tristan knows JCW a case of beer. I like how we're working this out, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone will end up just buying their own and calling it even. But, mate, extraordinary to think that for much of the night you didn't factor into the equation green, white checkers, your best friend.
Yeah, like I say, all the ducks sort of came into a row, and I had a spare set of tyres at the end, and I was up there with all these guys here, and I don't know what happened. It crossed the line there. The car's going left, right, and centre, and I just, what did we say? Close our eyes and put our foot down, and that was it.
Yeah. We're all waiting for the big one in that final 2 laps, I have to say. Extraordinary stuff. Mate, I'll come back to you in a moment, because obviously there'll be some thank yous there in all of that. Actually, I will stay with you. What'd you make of the race? Because at the end of the day, I mean, all our eyes were on the guys that were battling it out for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. How'd you find the night? Talk us through it from your perspective, please.
Well, as you mentioned, the first 100 were hard. I think JCW said it before, almost falling to sleep. It was got the monotonous, got again to a rhythm. Then the tyre wear started to play its part, and then it just worked out. Can I say, everybody that raced tonight, fantastic job across the board. It's good fun.
And I just say well done to our producer in the background as well, because I was about to say the role of Billy Hickey tonight is being played by Zach Caban, but then it changed the graphics. So the name is correct now. All of a sudden. I love how we can work on the fly like that. Now, let's have a look at everything else that's coming up here too, guys, because we've got Ruben Phelps in the booth right now. We've got Paul Jackson in the booth as well. We've got Dave Douglas we'll get to in just a moment as well. Extraordinary night here. If you're just tuning in, Josh Carroll Walden has snatched victory from the jaws of defeat, denying Josh Micklemore. Barry Neal copped a post-race 35-second penalty, which catapulted him outside the top 10. There's a recap of the results and the margins. And at the end of the day, Yeah, I'm a little bit speechless with regards to all that. I could not believe the drama that the last 2 laps delivered. If you're only just tuning in, do yourself a favour when the replay becomes available, go back and have a look at it because it was just superb stuff, top shelf entertainment. Let me bring in Dave Douglas at this point in time because again, you started on the front row. It was one of those situations, wasn't it, mate? It was a case of what might have been in qualifying because that second lap ended prematurely with the loop out of turn 2. And then it was a case of what might have been in the race because you pushed Mickelmore every step of the way. In the end, green, white checker sees you finish 4th.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Started on the front row, so that's good starting point, I guess. But yeah, you know, pre-race on the warm-up lap, I actually said to you guys that whoever saves the tyres is going to win this race, and lo and behold, old JCW and Barry Neal had a set in the bank, and so I mean we were saving, but those guys saved it a bit extra. So at the end of the day, they got the tyres, they got the win. So it was a good job from them, but. Yeah, I won't take too much time. I just want to give a shout out to all the guys here that were racing tonight. It was good, clean battling up front. There was multiple cars up there. Barry was up there. Paul Jackson was up there. Josh, what's his name? Carol Oldham, JCW.
Yep.
There was a lot of guys up there, and
What's his name? The race winner. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but yeah, it was a great fight, and for most part of it was all clean. So yeah, always enjoyable. And yeah, before taking too much time, I'll just give a shout out to Mark for putting on this league, and obviously you guys for putting on broadcasts and the commentary.
You're right. It was mostly clean. There were a couple of moments where you guys got perilously close to each other, but with the exception of that incident that cleaned up Barry Neal, it was exceptionally clean tonight. Little car-to-car contact. There was a little bit of hip and shoulder in green-white checker. We expected that. But the driving standards tonight, Mark Johansson, you must be so proud. If he's there or not, we'll come back to Mark a little bit later on. That's all good. Hey, let me bring in Paul Jackson at this point in time because, again, it was a case of what might have been, Paul. We were starting to wonder if you were there to help tow Barry along, depending upon we didn't know exactly how much damage he sustained, how much he was able to repair. In the end, you guys were in the thick of the action from first until last. It's just a shame that it's ended in 10th for you, and I think it was 12th for Barry once the penalty got applied.
Yeah, so obviously Barry actually fixed all of his damage. He copped about a minute of damage. But he got all of that repaired and got back out and made his way back up to myself and that, and was running, and I think I even let him go at one point. But yeah, we're just sort of running around, and again, that caution was just in front of Barry before that caution came out, and all the guys ducked into pits on that second to last one, and we said, right, we're going to stay out and bank on another caution. So we took the front of the grid for the restart, and we'd actually been clutching quite a fair bit after that last restart. So I think we'd run maybe 15 laps or so, and it saved enough fuel to get home over the other guys. So that's why we sort of dropped off with Josh JCW and Dave there at that restart after those 15. Yeah, we come back, and in that green white checker, obviously, my pit crew decided to do a swifty on me and didn't fill the tank, and I ran out of fuel.
It's a cruel beast sometimes, isn't it? Let me. I'll come back to you in a moment, Paul. Hey, Barry, just while you're still here, mate. Who was it that was in front of you when you got collected by Will Jesberg there?
Yeah, no, it was Josh and I. We were kind of battling for the lead at that point.
Yeah.
We'd be kind of we've been running nose to tail for laps, and as Josh said, we'd kind of done a whole heap of laps side by side and stuff. So, and I was just kind of right up behind him at that point.
So it's a case of what might have been, because had you had the lead there, it could have so easily been Josh that got caught up in all of that. It could have so easily been both of you that got caught up in that. But I guess that must be a little bit frustrating that lap traffic was in that position and wanting to make a game of it, make a race of it, because Will was here. Here it is on our screen again now, guys. Will didn't tuck in behind there with you guys. He wanted to force the issue and keep running.
Yeah, no, it was disappointing. I kind of I could see him. He was trying to get past. He had different tires than Josh and I, and I was trying to stay right on Josh's tail because I didn't want to lose anything. So he had a couple of goes, and then obviously he had a real go around the outside and hit the wall and came down and collected me. So if buts and maybes, that's what motorsport's all about, but didn't.
No, exactly right. I was going to say, Aidan Schultz had pace tonight as well, and we mentioned we had seen earlier this week in the RSRA Super 2E series, we had seen a situation where the leader got taken out by lap traffic, and I thought I just hope that situation doesn't eventuate tonight. And unfortunately, what do you know? We had a repeat dose. Obviously, it must have been difficult, though, for you, Schultzy, because you had the pace and you were desperate to try and get back onto the lead lap. And there were a couple of instances where cautions helped you out in that pursuit, but it just never eventuated, mate.
Yeah, definitely. I did try really hard there while I was trying to, especially I was 2 or 3 laps down there for a little while, just from that black flag, which I still have no idea why I got it. But anyway, is what it is. But Ruben was in my ear, just working our way back, and when I got in front of Josh there, I really didn't want to try and wreck his race, but I felt like I had pace, and I was there 2 or 3 laps in front of him, and sometimes you just got to know when to give up. So there was a point there I've just gone, nah, righto, see you later, and drop back. So yeah, I think it was about 20 or 30 to go, I was just like, okay, I'm now only 1 lap down, I'm going to get the wave around. I still had another set of tyres in the bank as well, by the way. So if we did have that, that would have been good. But yeah, I was never going to cause those guys a wreck or do anything like that. We race with each other 3 or 4 nights a week. So that wasn't going to happen from my end. I tried as much as I could, and when I knew I had nothing left, I'd let those guys come and try and fight for the win.
Let me go back to Josh Micklemore here. Was there a fuel-saving mentality in the opening stanza of that race, mate? Because we were noting here in commentary that if you went hard all the way through, it was looking like a 4-stopper. But if you saved a little bit and you stretched it out to 67 laps, as you guys did in the first stint, you mentioned you did that 3 times, you would have got home on 3 stops. Obviously, the way it played out, safety cars played their part. We saw more than 4 pit stops in the end. But were you guys thinking long game there in the early stages when we had that extended green flag run?
I sort of knew what the tyres were going to do, so at the start I wasn't. But when we had a yellow, I think it was about 150 to go. Then we sort of had to make a plan of what we're going to do, if we're going to try and save fuel there or buddy hit 50 lap increments or something. But that was the only period really. But yeah.
All right, good stuff. Thanks for the feedback there. Josh Carroll Walden, I mean, let's go back to you. I dubbed it the best looking car on the racetrack before we got going tonight. That's canary yellow, but doubles as Australian gold in this case.
Yeah, it certainly does. So yeah, it's amazing how some of these things just align, and yeah, I'm still speechless, man. I still can't believe that. Like, in all honesty, there was about 5 or 6 other guys that could have won this race, and yeah, if we ran the race 10 more times, I don't think I would have won another one. But yeah, I won the one that matters. So yeah, I'll take it.
Well, that's exactly right. It was the longest night of the Weekend Warriors series. 2.5 hours we were racing for, boys. It was an extraordinary effort from all of you. How are we all feeling after that? I mean, obviously the adrenaline rush is there at the moment. That'll kick off soon enough, and we'll all have that opportunity to fall flat. But how much wear and tear does that take out of you? For instance, Josh Micklemore. I mean, from a mindset standpoint and the mental factor here, but also the physical factor as well, because that is a hard slog when you consider that you only had about 4 cautions, 4 opportunities to just rest everything.
To be honest with you, I've done a fair few of these long races, so it wasn't too bad for me, to be honest with you. I think doing a few enduros throughout the year and stuff as well helps, and doing the NIS series, official series as well. They're a lot longer races, the 600 miles track. So for me, it wasn't too bad. I'm sort of used to this sort of thing. But yeah, wasn't too bad for me, mate.
All right. Now, just while I fill in some gaps here, Ruben Phelps, let's bring you in for the first time tonight. Welcome into the booth. You weren't on track, but what was your take of the race, please?
Well, firstly, I missed the start, so that's why I wasn't there tonight. But other than that, I was just on the air to Aiden, of course. A bit bummed about that penalty again. So other than that, I was just trying to strategize it to work for him to get his laps back, but it just never eventuated, unfortunately.
Well, that's exactly right. Actually, that's the big news since the last time I was in the Weekend Warriors booth, the fact that you guys have joined forces.
Yeah, no, well, we've always been pretty much teammates throughout, but we've just had a few different changes of teams / things, so we've gone and decided to bring up our own team, which is called Aussia Esports, if everyone wants to know. So once we can change the Facebook page, but as in that, now we're joining forces and creating our own stuff, so we're starting off pretty consistent and we're getting better each time. So once we get that consistency and rollout, we'll be strong forces. But other than that, we're just doing our thing and enjoying it.
And at the end of the day, that's the main thing, as long as you are enjoying it. Paul Jackson, as I move towards talking about the next round of the championship and Darlington, that's 24 in the book, 11 to go. What's the plan of attack for next week? Because Darlington's one of those iconic circuits again.
Well, every plan of attack is to try and finish in front of Darren McKenzie, so we can try and reel in his championship points there. But last 2 races, I was looking good for it tonight, but yeah, last week lost 7 odd points to him. Yeah, that's always the goal, is trying to narrow that lead he's got.
Indeed. How do you follow Mark Johansson? Are you back in the room? Are you back with us?
Yeah, mate. Yep.
What was your take on all of that? Because you watched a little bit of that race from the commentary box. You drove in it as well. You heard me going bananas here at the end of the race. I mean, I tried to ask this question earlier, but you were out of the room. So, having seen the driving standard tonight, having watched these guys for 2.5 hours, you've got to be impressed with the show they put on.
Oh, look, as I said at the start of the season, the more and more everyone races together, the more comfortable, the better the racing gets. And tonight's racing was just one of those nights where we've all been racing together now for 26 weeks, and everyone knows how they're driving. So the racing was just hard and clean. Like that first 100 odd laps until I had that tyre go, you couldn't have asked for a better race.
Well, that's exactly right. And for a short oval, I mean, this isn't the shortest oval out there, but it's a traditional 1.5 miler. You don't normally get racing as close as that for the duration of the night. It normally gets a little bit processional and mundane in the middle, as I said there earlier. But tonight, that was just on from the outset. Extraordinary stuff. Mark, the question is, how do we back that up next week? How do we top tonight? I don't think we can.
Oh, next week I would expect a few more guys to turn up. And it's a retro round, so some of the guys will want to get out there and put on a good show with the retro paints. I know our guy that designs our paints, he's got something special planned for next week. So, yeah, it'll be fun. Another tight little track, or another tight 1.5 mile track. So, yeah, I think the guys will put on another good show next week.
Darlington in its own right. Aiden steeped in folklore. Next week, it offers something different again to what we had tonight. Two completely different bankings, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Aiden, you happy to chat? Jump in there?
happy to chat. Sorry, I didn't
Go
know
for
whether
it.
you were talking to me or Mark. My
No, you
apologies.
go. That's all right.
But yeah, as I say about Darlington, too tough to tame, mate. It can be a tricky track, but yeah, it will be a good run for a 1.5 mile. So yeah, definitely a totally different track to tonight. So less banking, a lot different on the way that you need to run the car. I'm not probably the expert to tell you about that. Probably maybe the Dave Douglas, Josh Mickelmore, JCW. All those guys are probably one to be able to who's done a lot more iRacing than me, but definitely a totally different track to what we run tonight. So it's going to be fun, that's for sure. I'll be happy to be there.
Women's 100-meter final about to run in Tokyo as well, boys. So tune into that if you want. A big night, of course, because the men's 100 is tomorrow night. Let's bring in Dave Douglas at this point in time, mate. I mean, obviously, fourth is something to build upon. How eager are you now to try and seek some sort of redemption, considering that was for the better part of 97.5% of the night, looking like it was going to be a top 2 result? How eager are you for next week to try and get a little bit of redemption now?
Yeah, well, if I'm not busy, I'll be back for a run next week as well. It was an enjoyable night tonight, but yeah, tried to push Josh, coming with that. I don't know, we probably did 50 laps. I think me and him battled almost 50 laps there at the end. So I just let him go early and just drop back and save the tyres. And I thought I'd done enough, but then yeah, once I sort of got back up to him, just couldn't break that little bubble. And yeah, that was everything I had there. So couldn't do much more. So yeah, Josh had it in the bag there, but. Yeah, as it always happens in NASCAR, that's racing, and yeah, got the yellow flag, came out and turned it on its head.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. Let me go to Josh Carroll Walden. Your thoughts on Darlington?
Yeah, man, I love Darlington. Really, very unique circuit. Normally, I've got, quite, handy, quite fast around there, but I've never, ever won a race in anything around there. So, yeah, it's a bit of a, but I wouldn't say, it's just a bit, victory there for me is a bit elusive, to put in a word. So,
yep.
Yeah, definitely keen to go back to back and win there next week.
Just on the subject of putting words in there, how good was the alliteration from Aiden Schultz earlier? Too tough to tame, tricky track. He had all the T's going. Very nicely done.
The NASCAR jargon, mate.
If only we were going to Pocono next week and you could have thrown in tricky triangle as well. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's move. Yeah, exactly. Let's move forward. Josh Mickleton, same question to you as Mickelmore, sorry, to you. With regards to what I was asking Dave about, how desperate are you now to come out and try and seek some sort of redemption after the win got away from you at the death?
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Do a fair few of these races every week, so. But Darlington's a pretty difficult track. Believe it or not, I've only done a few races there. In official or in league sort of racing, so I haven't had a lot of experience around there. I've only done 4 or 5 races, I think. But
yep.
I've had a couple of close races there. I nearly took the win out the first time I was there, but we'll see what we can do. Yeah, it's definitely a tricky track, but it's also a fun track as well. As long as you keep it off the wall and keep the car clean and keep your wits about you, you'll be right.
Well done tonight, gentlemen. Superb performance, great show. Enjoyed every minute of it. I hope you did as well. I hope the viewing audience at home did too. Let's have a look at the championship standings if they're ready to go, and we'll have a look at where things stand after all of that, because as you heard the voice say, Darren McKenzie's the guy they got to try and catch. His lead is 107 points at the moment with only 11 rounds to go. Second is Paul Jackson, 587, Dylan Davies, 553, and Stephen Williams, 534. Josh Carroll Walden on 503. Scott McClintock, well done to him on 50 starts tonight. Didn't get a chance to catch up with him, but in the end, he come home in, I think it was 12th position there. And he's just jumped into the booth now. So that's pretty good timing on his part on 489. 477 for Dave Duran, Ruben Phelps, 460. Barry Neal, 456. And Adam Ariel on 439. I'll let that keep scrolling through. Ruben, are you going to get back on the grid next week?
Yeah, I should be definitely back next week. It's a bit sort of frustrated that I missed the start, but it happens when I'm trying to rush. But yep, I should be back next week, hopefully. So be interested to see what happens next week, because Darlington's definitely a hard racetrack. So
yeah, indeed it is. Just having a look at this 100-metre final for the women, boys. They're just lining up. 3 Jamaicans, 2 Switzerland competitors in that. So take your pick. It'll probably be one of the Jamaicans, knowing their form in this game. Before I go to thank yous for sponsors and all that sort of stuff, guys, because obviously we'll get Josh Carroll Walden. I was going to get Josh Micklemore to stick around, but he's departed. But Josh Carroll Walden can take centre stage here in just a moment. And Tristan Kosh as well. Scott McClintock, welcome into you, mate. It wasn't the night that you would have hoped for start number 50, but it's a nice milestone to notch up all the same.
Yeah, certainly, Zach. It wasn't sort of the night that I would have liked, sort of hanging back at the start there, just trying to get through all the rough stuff that happens. But yeah, just got caught up in some incidents, unfortunately.
And it happens from time to time. Epic race, though. Long night at the office.
Oh, mate, I'm so sore. My knees, my butt, everything. Just, killing me. Long night.
Just quickly, Jamaica went 1, 2, 3 in the women's 100 in Tokyo. Tickle me surprised, as they say. Very nicely done. Hey, just looking at all of that, Scott, to notch up 50 starts, you're in pretty esteemed company there. There aren't too many other guys that have notched that milestone up. You're in good company, and it just goes to show, I mean, for all the drivers that we have in the Weekend Warriors series, for all the rounds we've had, it's so hard to be committed to be here every single Saturday night, because real world gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, certainly. For a lot of guys it does, but I'm surprised it actually came up so quickly. It only seems like yesterday that we started all this stuff, or Mark started all this stuff and brought us along on board. So big thanks to Mark for starting it up and giving us something fun to do on a Saturday night. But yeah, it's an achievement, a small achievement, but an achievement nonetheless. And yeah.
Anyone you want to thank while you're here, mate, for 50 races under the belt?
Oh yeah, mainly just Mark for starting all this stuff, bringing us on board, and making us a part of it, and making it part of a really good growing league, and to all the other admin boys.
Indeed. Hey, just quickly updating the basketball as well. USA 47 leading the Czech Republic 43 at the moment for anyone that's interested. That's on 7, mate. The athletics is on 7. Big night in Tokyo once more. Let's get to some thank yous here. Before I do, though, Tristan Kosh, after springing the surprise tonight, can you pull another rabbit out of the hat next week in Darlington?
I think they're very limited. I think it's end of the season. As I said, all the ducks got in a row this evening, and I just, like I say, pulled a rabbit out of my ass, and we went from there. But next week, look, anything's possible. It's motor racing.
Exactly right. 100%. Well done. All right. Since Tristan's on the podium and Josh is on the podium, we've lost Josh Micklemore, but we've got these other two. Tristan, anyone you want to thank?
I would like to thank Ballistic Beer, Aussie Designs, MZO, Wagner Stainless Steel, Mark Wood Properties, and where's the last one? Food Connect. And also I'd like to thank Mark and all the other guys that raced this evening. And great series, it's getting better and better, and hopefully there's more to come.
Did I hear correctly that the first sponsor you thanked was beer?
Ballistic. Yeah.
Ballistic beer. Where can we get a hold of that, please?
There's a craft beer place at Salisbury. There's one in West End. There's one in Springfield, all up there in sunny Queensland.
Yep.
And I believe they're starting to distribute amongst all out and throughout Australia.
I just love, it's a very token Aussie thing to do, that the first thing we thank on a Saturday night is beer. I love it. Fantastic. Good stuff. Well done to the people at Ballistic for getting on board with sim racing as well. And of course, well, hopefully they'll still be able to sell some takeaways or whatever over the next 3 days. But anyway, that's another story. Josh Carroll Walden, the floor is yours, mate. Take centre stage and thank whoever you want.
Yeah, so shout out to the team sponsors, Ferguson Group Media, Bridgestone Select, Race Magazine, Two Fat Blokes, AJ Insurance Services. Shout out to my teammates as well, Edward Foster, Jason Hardican, Daniel Hedesheed, Norman Clark, and yeah, shout out to Mark and all the other admins for a great league, and all the guys out there tonight for a great race.
It certainly was a great race, one of the best. Mark Johansson, as the man behind the great series that this is, there must be some people that you want to thank as well, mate.
Yeah, Zach. Look, I'd just like to congratulate Scott firstly on his 50th. Great achievement, and without him behind the scenes, a lot of this stuff wouldn't go on. He puts in a big effort through the week for us, with helping me with the admin. Nathan Legg, he also puts in a big effort every week, and just for all the guys turning up to race each week, I think we've got a good thing going here, and hopefully we can only make it bigger and better. And thanks to yourself, Zach, and a big shout out to JP from SimShed Broadcasting for coming on board and taking up the challenge of broadcasting us every week. So, yeah, just congratulations on everyone on a great race.
Well, I have to say, it's nice to be on board when I'm available, and I'm not always here on a Saturday night. I'm, off chasing real world motorsport. But of course, with lockdown, sim racing is a very nice weapon to have as a backup plan to keep us all sane and going along nicely during these weird and strange and unimaginable times. JP, from SimShed Broadcasting standpoint, there must be a couple of thank yous from you as well.
Yeah, look, I'd like to thank everybody at the Weekend Warriors. They do a fantastic job every week. Certainly Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine, these guys, fantastic publication, and great to have these guys on board. Definitely like to thank Track Cams for Gourmets as well, who provide us with these awesome camera packs for the Oval and the Road Racing Series. SDK Gaming, who work tirelessly to create these customized graphics and overlays that you see here, and of course yourself.
And thank you to you as well, mate. It's good to be on board on a Saturday night. Boys, well done. Terrific show you put on tonight. Go and watch the replay tomorrow. Well worth the price of admission. And good luck next Saturday night when you get to the old tricky Darlington as well. From all of us here at SimShed Broadcasting, we hope you've enjoyed round 24 of the Weekend Warriors, with thanks to Short Shift Sim Racing Magazine, the Firecracker 600, and we went into overtime, and what a firecracker it was. The fireworks were saved until the very end, and when it ignited, by gee, it was hard to keep on top of, but in the end, Josh Carroll Walden snatches victory from the jaws of defeat. Looking ahead for you on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, Tuesday night, we bring you all the action from the RSRA Super Series, Detroit, the Grand Prix at Belle Isle, Michigan. Looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Sprint racing, the order of the day there. Concrete Canyon, you know the drill. 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. We back it up on Wednesday night with the RSRA Super 2E Series from the same time. And then next Saturday night, Weekend Warrior Cup car racing from Darlington from the earlier time of 7:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's it. We're done. Go and enjoy Formula One qualifying as it gets underway from Hungary as motorsport starts to get back underway in the midst of all the Olympic action from Tokyo. On behalf of the crew here, round 24 is in the books, 11 to go. Josh Carroll Walden wins the Firecracker 600. From all of us here, I'm Zach Cabin. Bye for now.